Okay, we are live.
All right, so good evening. This is the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals for August 26, 2020. I am going to start by reading a statement on the meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner: by finding the meeting at www.southborough.com/remote meetings, all one word. No in-person attendance of members in the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right. And with that, we do have a number of items on the agenda for the evening. I'm just opening up that agenda. Actually, it was all there. So I'd like to open the hearing for 5 Breakneck Hill Road for John and David Bartolini. Katie, do you have the notice?
Yep, I'm going to read the notice into public record and then move Mr. Bartolini over as a panelist. So the Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 7 p.m. with regard to the petition of John and David Bartolini, 5 Breakneck Hill Road, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to allow the conversion of a single-family dwelling to a 2-family dwelling. Relief is requested under section 174(9)G and 174(8)(2)(b)(6). A copy of the application may be requested through the principal assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-485-0717, extension 3018, or kberry@southboroughma.com. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law section 30A, general law chapter 38, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitation on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings.
All right, thanks, Debbie.
Oops, that was the wrong person. Hold on a sec. I jumped the gun. Sorry, John.
Am I there, Katie?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me, but no picture. Is that how it works?
It's how it's working right now.
That's fine.
Jack, is it on your end? Or sometimes it might be.
Yeah,
I can see. I don't know.
Join
in the top
video.
In the top corner, if you put your cursor on the top corner, it might give you the opportunity, like on mine, it'll say mute, and then there's a little drop-down screen. It'll say start.
No, I did all that.
Okay.
No, let's see. I mean, I got. How's that? Is that any? No, that's no good. I got you, Michael. So I can see you, Michael. I can see Doris and David and Katie. That's it.
That's what happened to me earlier. When I logged in earlier, I could see everyone, but my video didn't come up, and then I kind of got kicked out and then it restarted. Just,
The same thing
Yeah.
happened to me.
okay.
Okay.
So it might just take a minute to reload, but I think we can probably get started at least. And hope it kicks in.
I guess, I don't know. How do you want to handle this? Do you want me to, I can't, to be honest with you, I can't tell if you got a quorum, so that would be my first question.
We do.
Okay. Is this?
Jack, is there something you're planning to present, or were you just going to talk?
No,
to the
I'll just read
application?
off what I have. You've got a package, a package before you.
Right.
Katie's read off what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a special permit, conversion of a single family to a two family. The place, it's located at 5 Breakneck Hill Road. It's residential A zoning. Current use is a daycare right now. Lot size is 3 acres. And the requirements for a special permit are letters from the Board of Health, which you have a favorable letter from the Board of Health dated 8/12/20. You have a planning board letter dated 8/11/20, favorable. Lot size, a minimum of 15,000 square feet. I have 133,118 square feet, or 3 acres. No other apartments on the site, none exist. A minimum exterior alterations. There are going to be none except to replace or repair the building that's there. And it has to be in existence since for 2 years, and it's been in existence since 1996. It's situated, it's the first driveway up on the right on Breckneck Hill Road from Route 9, and it has the major abutter is the MDC. It's a pretty secluded building. It has about 610 common feet in lot line with the MDC. And I don't know what else I can tell you about it. My brother and I are looking to put 1 unit up and 1 unit down. I don't know if I can answer any questions. Happy to do it.
Okay. If we're ready for that, Jack, as I would agree with you, it's fairly straightforward. Paul, do you have any questions on this?
I don't have any questions, no.
Debbie?
I do, and I have to say, I like that you're going in the same order as if we were sitting in the conference room at the townhouse.
This is what I have in my head.
Okay, I just wanted to read 174.9G, and actually this is maybe I wanted to get the board's opinion on this. This is also brought up at the planning board. The definition of a two-family dwelling says the conversion of a one-family house which has been in existence for 2 years or longer to a two-family dwelling is allowed by special permit by the Board of Appeals. So I happen to know that this was never a one-family house that was used as a one-family house. So I wanted to sort of lead a discussion on this to see how the board feels about this, because we have sort of an ambiguous bylaw. So as it turns out, my kids, or my daughter at least, are in the first class of kids at We Care for Little People, which is, or little children, which is the daycare. And so they were over on Main Street, and then went to this location. So so I know firsthand that the house was never used as a single family, or sorry, one family house. And I wish I didn't know that, but now I do know that. So I reached out today to find out from the building inspector if we do we check to see if it was a single family home, or what do we do? I mean, yeah, I think Jack presented some information. It was clearly built as a single family home, and at some time it was then, allowed use as a daycare. So I wanted to just bring that up because I don't know that it squarely fits within the definition. And I think what was brought up at the planning board was, I don't want to restate what was said, but I think the sentiment is if there are a lot of houses, single family homes that have maybe converted into businesses, but does that mean that they are eligible also for 2-family homes? And I think the examples that were brought up were like Red Barn or others that were maybe built as a single family and now have a different use. Are they eligible under this bylaw? So I just want to bring that up also with the board members, not actually a question for you, Jack. I like your project. I think it's a great use of the bylaw, to be honest. But it was pointed out that there are no bedrooms. There were never any bedrooms. It was never a single family house. And so does this project meet the bylaw? And so what does the board feel about it?
Mike, do you have a take on that?
So this is an interesting site, but then again, this is the limitation of our bylaws. And what happens is Southborough, for lots of reasons, hasn't updated the bylaws. And the only thing that they have done recently is taken away a use variance from us. And so this would typically be an opportunity in a different set of circumstances to be allowed for a use variance. And unfortunately, that tool in the toolbox, for better or for worse, doesn't exist. And so, we're left with what we have. It is, I was unfamiliar with the history, but it's right by Starbucks. So I'm in and out of that plaza like a couple times a day. And so I popped over and took a look at the property, but from all physical appearances, but for the history of the property, you would never know it as anything other than a 2-family home. I can't speak to hypotheticals like, oh, if Red Barn was built this way. And again, like that's where this is right by Route 9. Are we really using the highest and best value of the house? And as a result, I think Mr. Bartolini's proposal is reasonable, and I have no objections to it. And I think we're just really tied. I think it's a really great, I was completely unaware of those facts from that perspective, Debbie. And so I was glad for your input, but I think we're stuck with what we have as far as the bylaws. I think from a physical appearance, whether or not bedrooms were built, he's building a two-family house anyway. So its appearance from a factual presentation is it's a single family house. Like I would drive by that and say, there's a single family, I don't know if it's a Cape, but single family home. So that's my position on it.
Doris, do you want to weigh in?
Deborah, I had somewhat of the same thought that you had, that I didn't believe that the house has ever been a single family home without doing the legwork that you've done on it. And when I looked into the bylaw, the daycare isn't allowed in the home, and there's not a differentiation to make it not be a single family house. So I see the point, but I don't think we have a differentiation to make it not go to a 2-family. It's an unusual property, in kind of tandeming what was just said. It's set back, it's down a long driveway. It's in a residential, if you look at it from that perspective, other than the woodlands that surround it on all the different sides. I can't even see it being, because of some of the woodland issues, being a viable commercial property other than what it was used for, which was allowable. So it's probably, just in my thought, probably the better use of the property. I had a differing question, if that mattered. As people go along, maybe we'll come back to it. But I wasn't seeing a differentiation in the bylaw. it's allowable. So the daycare was allowable, but it was used that way. There wasn't guidance that closed it, is what I think. To close the option to make it a 2-family. It would mean a revision to the bylaw.
Jamie, as an alternate, you're allowed to offer opinions and questions. You just can't vote.
Yeah, that's okay. I drove by all the properties today, including this one. And I also feel that a 2-family home here makes sense because of the location and the bylaw does allow it. I appreciate what Deborah brought up. It seems like, as discussed, we would need more changes to the bylaws. I think comparing Red Barn to that property is very different. Just because of the location. I mean, the property we're talking about now, I don't believe you can see from Route 9, and it's got a fairly private driveway. So overall, I'm in support of the project, and I do appreciate that there's probably some holes in the bylaws that need to be addressed.
Thank you. Paul, do you want to weigh in on that? What the questions that Debbie brought up?
I follow what Ken was saying. It is currently zoned as a residential home, correct?
Yes, yes, it is.
So if it's
It's residential A.
well, I understand it might not be, I guess that gets into the gray area. It might not be currently used as a single family home, but it has been constructed and permitted as such, for over 2 years. So I don't have an issue with it being then converted to a 2-family, especially based where it is. I'd rather see a use like that take place than a use that's going to have a higher traffic impact or any other type of impact on an already tricky location.
Oh, can you get closer to your router?
Can I? For some reason, I'm getting a message that I'm getting high CPA usage, not. I don't know. For some reason, something's funky going on in the background.
Yeah, you're a little. I think we got the basic idea, but it is a little choppy.
Yeah, that's for some reason it's saying I've got like high CPU usage.
Okay.
But at any rate, since it is, I don't know what to repeat it. Since it is legally zoned as a single-family home, it's been in existence for 2 years. I think what's being proposed is okay, based on the fact that it's a tricky, busy location. I'd rather see it used as that as used for something else. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough. So I was aware of the issue that Debbie brought up, and it is sort of a technical loophole, I would say. I guess it's dangerous to go to what the intent was, right? That's always a changing thing. But clearly it was, as long as it has been in existence for some time, it's okay to convert it. I think I'm sure what they're trying to avoid is, getting it in and immediately converting it. This is a very secluded property, as was mentioned. It seems like it's a good use as well. I think another thing to keep in mind here is, as Jack brought up, part of doing that conversion requires inputs from the planning board itself, who are ultimately responsible for the code, and they don't have a problem with it. So to me, I think it's a pretty good project as well. Jack, could you just maybe answer one question? The original permit or plan, was this permitted as a single family home?
Yes, it was. It should be in your packet, but back in 1996, Bob Garfield was the building inspector back then, and it was permitted as a single family home. And then so what happens here is then it got amended to be a daycare, but only after it was originally started. That's what the planning board thought too, is it's a single family. The building inspector went round and round with this also. And, you know, she felt that it reverts back to its single family status, and that way you don't lose your zoning rights. And it's been in existence for 2 years. So she wrote the, not a favorable letter, but she said, yeah, you can go on to the ZBA and I don't see an issue with this.
Okay. All right. Do any board members have any other questions for Jack before we open it up for public comment?
Jack, I did have one other question. And it's just, so there's no plan to make any revisions to the driveway or the circular set of the driveway? The way that had set up for the daycare, that'll stay as is, or is that in the, you say minimal area?
Currently, the plan is to keep it the way it is. I don't follow. Do you want more or do you want less?
I'm just asking, there's nothing in the plan to change the driveway. It's a general question.
No.
Okay.
It comes in, it's got a nice circular pattern and it goes back out.
Right, because there's no garage. It's going to be a rental unit, 2-family, or a?
Yes, I'd rent it.
Okay.
I like this bylaw. It's worked well. It's actually, it brings a nice diversity to the town for housing.
It is sizable. Okay. Katie, do we have anybody wanting to publicly comment, any abutters or anyone else who's raised a hand, basically?
I do not see anyone right now.
All right. All right. Are there any other questions for Jack before we take a motion to close the public hearing? All right. We would need a motion.
We'll make a motion to
Just-
close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Debbie, I think I'm just going to sort of ask you, given the conversation that we've had.
Yeah, have everyone approve that.
Yeah, can we, so I
I'm sorry.
seconded the motion. And so
We need to take a vote. Yeah.
we need to vote on that quick.
Okay. You're right. Right. Thank you for that. Okay. We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, we'll do by a roll call. Paul?
In favor?
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes,
And Doris?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So that will close the public part of the hearing. So now we're in just deliberation amongst the board. Anything we want to talk about related to what we've already discussed during the public part of the hearing. Debbie, I think it makes sense to start with you. You raised the concern. You've heard from every other member of the board. What are your, do you have concerns still?
Well, I want to say I don't have concerns about the project. I think it's really, I like the bylaw also, and I think it would be a great spot. It's a beautiful spot for a 2-family, rental house or whatever. So I would say I don't really have concerns. I do read the bylaw a little bit more strictly, having known the fact that it's never been a single family house. So, but I think that, as a board, we get to interpret that and offer, our opinion. That's what we're asked to do. So my interpretation is it's a little bit more square because it's never been a single family house. But, I hear from everybody, I understand completely that, it could have been, I don't know why that, it was, there's a lot of different ways that it could have gone, but we can't really go back in time. So I would say I don't have any concerns. I really just wanted to bring that to the board. We might be seeing this again. You know, it would be interesting to know if what I heard from some of the folks is to say, well, this is a nice location and it's secluded and there's lots of room. It's got a nice big driveway and all those things are true. I don't think there's anything in the bylaw that talks about whether or not, what if it were in a industrial area? Would we care? Would we feel the same way? Would we vote differently? So I'm just really trying to understand, you know, as a board, how we would feel. I would like to maybe, you know, at some point, if we ever get to these bylaws, to, you know, just make these a little bit more clear so that the building inspector doesn't have to wonder and that we don't have to ask these questions. This is a very good project, but in my opinion, the zoning bylaw is a little unclear. So I don't have, you know, I don't have any worries, but I read it a little bit more strictly, and I still feel that it was never a single family house.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, you have anything more to?
No, we've covered all the ground from my
Okay.
perspective.
Doris? Oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I don't have any other comments on it. And I think seeing it, I came by the property twice. It's secluded. It's the best use of the lot to have someone live there. And in deference what Deborah has to say, it certainly indeed has never, in my knowledge, been a single family home, but it's been in use the way it was for such a long time. I mean, it's just something we're gonna have to address in the bylaws, but I can't see applying it here.
Okay. Jamie, do you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I'm all set. I appreciate what Deb is saying, and I think it does make sense to revisit at some point to make the bylaw more clear. But in this situation, it seems pretty clear cut to me.
Okay. And Paul?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. In that case, do we, if we have no more deliberation, I would need a motion on this application.
I'll make a motion to approve the application as drafted.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application as drafted with a second. All in favor by roll call. Start with Debbie.
No,
No. All right. Paul?
Yep. Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Doris?
Yes.
All right. And I vote yes as well. So that's 4-1, correct? In this case, this does not have to be unanimous, correct? Is the majority 4-1 will approve it, correct? Sorry, I just have to confirm that. Okay.
If 4-1 it does, I mean, that's what I understand.
Yeah, I
For
think so
special
too,
permit.
I'm just
Nope, double check.
checking myself.
But I believe for special permits.
All right. All right, then the permit is, the application is approved. I think that's it, isn't it, Katie?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
All right, thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Sign off.
All right. So our next hearing is scheduled for 7:15 at 7:31, so we certainly can continue on. This is 12 Richards Road, John and Judy Boland requesting a special permit. Katie, do you have the notice to read for this one?
Yes, I do. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via a virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. with regard to the petition of John and Judy Boland, 12 Richards Road, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to allow the replacement of the existing shed and replace it with a larger structure encroaching the 15-foot side setback. Relief is requested under section 174.83D3 and 174.19. A copy of the application may be requested through the principal assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-485-0717, extension 3018, or kbarry@southboroughma.com. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing limitation on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. I'm going to move John Boland over to a panelist. Okay. Okay, he should be good to go. John, can you hear us?
I can, yes, I can.
Hi, John.
Katie, is that something you can control from your end on the panelist side to turn their videos on? You should be able to, I think, because you're a host.
If they have the ability, I think I can ask. I don't know.
Because I can see John, but
Yep. I asked for him to do the video and
he looks like he has. There he
There
is.
you go.
there it
There
is.
we go.
It helps. Thank
Good,
you.
John.
Thank you, John.
That's more like it.
So John, do you just want to speak to the application that you have? As we did in the previous one, we do have a packet so we can follow along with what the application is about.
Sure thing. Our house is at 12 Richards Road, and attached to the westerly end of the house, we have a shed that is 9 foot 9 inches by 18 foot 5 inches. It was originally very poorly constructed, quite frankly, and we've sort of nursed it along over the years. But it's reached a point where it's literally falling down and structurally deficient at this point. What we're asking for is some relief from the westerly setback of 15 inches. We'd like to go an additional 15 inches closer to the lot line. That'll allow us to, pardon me, that'll allow us to get a full-size garage door in there. Should we ever reach the point where we want to put another vehicle in there. We probably won't use it at this point, but at some point in time, that would then give us a 2-car garage in essence. Given the size of it, well, let me back up just a second. As part of our investigation into what we're going to do with this old clunker of a shed, I did go out and excavate along the foundation. It does have a foundation, but I excavated along the foundation, and much to our dismay, the existing foundation is only 2 feet deep. So that in itself has led to the demise of the rest of the structure. So that means we're going to have to tear it all out, remove the foundation, and start from the footing up with the new structure. That'll allow us to get some flexibility in how we put our cars and what have you. One of the issues that unfortunately keeps turning up here is the need at some point in the future of a handicap ramp. And with the addition of this new structure, at some later date, we should at that point build a handicap ramp undercover in the existing garage and have everything undercover and still be able to park one vehicle at that point inside. That's about it. I think the pictures that I have in the little packet there sort of speak for themselves. The building is literally falling down. A big section of the roof blew off in one of the thunderstorms a couple of weeks ago. So we have to move forward with that one way or the other. And I would hope that the new structure will be a little more consistent with the neighborhood, a little more consistent with the architecture of our house, and a little more fitting to the neighborhood. That's about it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Good, thank you. I'm going to change the order up a little bit. I'm just going to go by what I see on Zoom. Jamie, do you have any questions?
Sorry, my dog was barking, so I muted. I do not have any questions.
All right, thank you. Debbie, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions, no. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you have any questions?
I have none, no.
Paul?
Just the usual question with these type of things is the direct abutter on that side having, if there's no issues with them, then I don't have any questions.
There was no issues with any abutters as far as we know, Mr. Bowen. Is that the case?
As far as I know, yes.
Especially the one who's most impacted to the west?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you. Doris?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. My only question is, Mr. Bowen, just to be clear, that it's you're violating the 15-foot setback, correct? Is that right?
Well, it's actually at least the way I read it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually a 10-foot
Okay.
setback as a residence C lot.
Okay. Listed as resident B.
Yeah, the agenda has it as encroaching in the 15-foot side setback
Yeah,
in the residence B district.
it is residence B, yeah. But if I can scroll to the right part of it here, the drawing that you've got, I think what we're seeing is the change from the existing structure is very, very slight, correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's 15 inches.
Okay.
Ah.
So it's a change of 15 inches?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. That was all I wanted to clarify. I really don't have any other questions for it. I did take a drive by. I understand why you would want to do what you're proposing, Mr. Bowen. So if all the members have asked all their questions, I would just ask Katie if anyone's raised their hand in the meeting to comment publicly.
Katie, you're on mute.
I hit the wrong button. Nobody has their hand raised right now.
Okay, all right. Okay, if there are no other questions, then we should take a motion to close the public hearing.
David, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll
Second it.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor by roll call of closing the public hearing. Paul,
Close it.
Mike,
Close it.
Debbie,
Yes.
Doris? Oh, Doris is
I
frozen.
think she froze.
Versus frozen.
Uh-oh.
Let's give it a minute, but if
Yeah.
not,
Yes.
I'm glad Jamie's here.
Here to save the day.
Can you go unfreeze? Actually, you're probably a long ways away, Jamie. You can't unfreeze Doris. Oh, now she's
Just-
gone from the
She
meeting.
just popped,
Probably-
so let's see if
probably
she
come
pops back on.
Now, see, these are the kind of
There
things
she
that
is.
Craig wasn't dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what happens to me. Hi, Doris. Um, we were
I
just
don't know what
doing,
happened to my computer. I came back on my phone.
okay. Did you, so you heard that we took a motion and second to close the public hearing. We're just doing the roll call vote. Do you vote to close the public hearing?
Yes,
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So that will close the public hearing and open the deliberative part of this review. Anybody have anything they want to discuss as part of this application? I would say it does feel pretty straightforward.
Mr.
Right,
Chair,
so-
I'd make a motion to approve the petitioner's application as drafted.
Second
Got a
that.
second? Paul seconds, okay. Okay, we have a motion to approve the petitioner's application as drafted. It has been seconded, so we need to do a roll call vote to approve. Doris, how do you vote?
yes, I approve it.
Okay. Paul?
Yes, I approve.
Okay. Mike
Yes, approve.
and Debbie?
Yes, approve.
All right, and I vote yes also to approve. Now, so Katie, what you're really looking for here is just to say the board approves the special permit allowing replacement of the existing shed and replacing it with a larger structure encroaching the 15-foot side setback relief as documented.
Yeah, along with, it's not more detrimental to the neighborhood, all that fun stuff.
Okay, yes, okay, it is in keeping with the neighborhood, is not, does not substantially derogate from the neighborhood.
And I guess it's an improvement to an existing structure also.
Yes, okay, yeah, all right, I'll try to capture that a little better. Okay. Mr. Boland, your request has been approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. All right. We have, yeah, and again, we're okay, but our next public hearing is scheduled for 7:30. It is 2 Pleasant Street. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Leanne and Richard Borax special permit to construct a deck on the back side of the house. Do you have the notice for that? You could read, Katie?
I do. Hold on just a moment. I'm trying to move them over at the same time. Sorry about that. Just a moment. Sorry, I have misplaced it. I will get it. Okay, here we go. Sorry, for some reason, my computer is not working very well right now. Okay, I've got it up. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via a virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. with regard to the petition of Leanne and Richard Borax, 2 Pleasant Street, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to construct a deck on the backside of the house on a non-conforming lot and within the 35-foot rear setback in the Residence B district. Relief is requested under section 174.83D3 and 174.19. A copy of the application may be requested through the principal assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-485-0717, extension 3018, or kberry@southboroughma.com. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitation on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Do we have somebody on the call to,
Whoops.
you do have Lori Lavoli, but
Yep. So the 2 L's were very close. Let me just move her back. I think I got the right ones now.
you're just the person for the job, Katie.
This is so fun.
Oh, we have video. All right, welcome, Leanne and Richard, and I hope I'm pronouncing your names correctly.
You are. Yep. Great job.
Great, thank you. Do you have something to present, or would you like to just speak to the application? Again, all the members do have the pack, so we could scroll through what you've submitted, including the sketches and the map.
Sure, no problem. So what we're looking to do, as mentioned, we're looking to put a deck off the side of the house. As mentioned, it's a non-conforming lot. We have the Freight Line Railroad right behind us. I don't know if those of you that are familiar with the Fayetteville area. We're right on the corner of Cherry and Pleasant Street. But yeah, we're looking to put as we're doing some renovations in the house, we've just gotten re-sided and a number of other things. There was an existing structure there before that was in fairly rough shape, so we decided to kind of think a little bit and wanted to make someplace where we could set up a couple chairs as we walk out of the house, a nice little deck area, nothing, basically an addition from the house as opposed to it being like pavement or something like that. Just an alternate structure there, so to speak, so as when we walk out to the driveway, so on and so forth. All of our, but primarily most of our land is on the sides of the house. So as mentioned, the railroad is right behind us, and we are, as noted, you can see in the diagram, we're right on the line. This house, for those that probably know the history of Southborough, this house actually was exploded in 1984. There's a gas explosion. The house actually did not have gas, so this house was built in '84 from the gas company when that original structure went up. So, and actually, as a side note, a few years ago, fast forward about almost 30 years, I smelled gas once again up my front area. They had to have the gas company come back out, resolve that issue, and so far so good. But So yeah, so when they built the structure, they did put it pretty much right on the line. Again, I believe the number is actually 3 inches. So the deck would come off from our side door. We already have an existing set of stairs that come off of it. We just want to have something a little bit different than that particular piece. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. So, you know, there's no residence directly behind us. Like I said, it's the railroad. We have land on either side. There's plenty of space on either side. So it's just really a matter of that particular structure. So.
And I know, well, I don't want to jump in on other people's questions. I was just going to ask to the on the side of the deck, is there somebody who lives in a house right adjoining that side of the property?
There is. There's the autism center owns there's a duplex on that particular side, but
Okay.
it's off. I don't know. I'm going to say probably 40, 50 feet easy.
And there's trees in between.
Yeah, there's
a
trees
line of
and
trees between us
shrub on the side.
and them.
So it's actually, so our driveway would actually come up, so that it would be coming out of the house. We would have the raised patio, and then the driveway would be there, and then we have a side yard on that particular side. That's, like I said, is probably at least 30 or 40 feet wide. Yeah. So it's not a situation where, like, you know, we're having this particular structure and the houses were right on top of it. Like I said, that would actually be abut our driveway, and then from on the other side of the driveway is yard.
And I just want to interject, I'm sorry. We do have our builder has also joined the meeting, next to Bella. And I don't know, he's more than happy to take, if you guys have technical questions or really specific questions, he's also on the meeting. I mean, he's not on here, but if you want to bring him in, if you have specific questions that we can't answer.
Okay, I think Katie's doing just that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, since it's not my decision to be made, why don't we ask the members for their inputs? So Mike, let's start with you. Let's change things up a little.
No, I went by the property and I saw the petition and I understand what they're trying to do with it. And I always kind of like echo, I'm of the same vein as Paul, as if there's an abutter proximate to the home that has an objection, you know, that's really when I really want to reset my focus and relook at this. But seeing what's at the property now and what their intended use for, I don't have any questions at this time.
Thank you. All right, Doris, do you have any questions?
No, I also drove by the house, and I think in the application you had said you're just looking for a sitting area behind the house to enjoy the backyard, and you don't have a neighbor back there. So there's no one objecting, including the railroad. I don't really have any additional questions to that. More of maybe one building question. I thought I'd seen some diagrams. It's just going to be put on short footings. They're not going to dig down. They're going to put them on little footings.
Correct. It's going to be freestanding,
Okay.
you know, separate from the house, 14 inches above final
Okay.
grade.
Okay.
Okay. Paul?
I don't have any questions.
All right, Jamie?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with this at all. I mean, considering the house was built so close to the road, which you couldn't control, and no one has a problem with it in terms of abutters. I don't see any issue with this.
Okay. Debbie?
Yeah, I have no issues also. I have no questions. Thanks.
Thanks. And I don't really either. I actually live not far from here, from this property. I did take a drive by that and the other properties on the agenda tonight. And you know, I can see where there's not a lot of options. You were really hard against the railroad there.
Yes, we are.
And you know, it does seem like a modest thing to put on the house, certainly to the benefit of those who live there. And I'm just going to echo what, you know, has previously been said. If there are no objections from an abutter, then it seems like a pretty reasonable application to me. So, Katie, is there anybody else who wants to comment publicly? Anybody's got their hand up?
I do not see anybody with their hand up, and I do want to remind the board that I sent you a note that in the butter, I think at 3 Pleasant, called in Andrew, something with K, and he was in full support. He was in full
Okay.
support. He thought it was a good project.
All right.
That's great.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I think I just was going to follow up on Doris's comment. I think we need to rule on whether or not they can violate the setback. The building of the structure is still subject to the building commissioner approving.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay. All right. If there aren't any more questions for Mr. Sabella or Mr. and Mrs. Borax, then we can close the public hearing. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mike. We have a motion to close the public hearing and a second. All in favor by roll call. Yes will be fine. Debbie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Doris?
Yes.
All right, I vote yes as well. The public part of the meeting is closed now. Is there, and we're in the deliberative session, anything that anybody wants to debate at this point? You can raise it. It does seem, again, relatively straightforward. I think we're in general agreement here.
No, I think the petition, just like the others, it's consistent with the present use. It's consistent with the neighborhood, and I feel it meets the criteria for approval for a special permit.
All right. Anyone else?
I agree with what Mike said.
Okay. In that case, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the special permit as written?
Sure, I'll make a motion to accept the permit as requested.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
that.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to approve the special permit as written. We have a second. We'll do a roll call. Vote in favor is yes, against is no. Doris?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, thanks. Mike?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And Debbie?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, and I approve as well, so that would be 5-0 to approve the special permit as written, considering it does not, do all those things, derogate from the neighborhood, and is in harmony with the rest of the neighborhood.
Great.
So you, Mr. and Mrs. Borax, you are approved. Thank you very much for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sabella. Okay. We get to the fun parts. All right, and we are still on schedule. The next one is scheduled for 7:45, unless anybody feels like they need 2 minutes, but otherwise we'll plow ahead. All right, so next on the agenda at 7:45 is 4 Bryden Road. I will apologize in advance to the applicants because I'm going to have a hard time with this name. Bala Garunath Srinivasan, special permit, seeking a special permit to construct a 2-car garage within the 15-foot side setback and the 30-foot front setback on a non-conforming lot. Do you have the notice to read, Debbie?
I do. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a hearing via a virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. with regard to the petition of Balagarunath Srinivasan, 4 Bryden Road, Southborough, Mass. I apologize. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to construct a 2-car garage within the 15-foot side setback and the 30-foot front setback on a non-conforming lot in the Residence B district. Relief is requested under section 174.83D3 and 174.19. A copy of the application may be requested through the Principal Assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals, 508-485-0717, extension 3018, or kberry@southboroughma.com. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitation on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com.
All right, thanks, Katie. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Srinivasan, we all collectively apologize for mangling your name. I'm sorry. You have the floor. You will need to unmute. I don't know if you have anything to present. It may be at the top of the screen.
Typically, it's the top right hand. There's a little, if you use your cursor.
Oh, there you go. She's got it. You should be.
They should be.
It should be. I don't see the little mute button, but we're not hearing anything. Katie, there's a phone number option as well. They want to dial in, correct?
Yep, they could dial in. I do see them as unmuted, so I'm not sure if it's a connection issue.
Let me try the mute button here. They're gonna call, okay.
So quick thing in the chat, Dave, to all panelists, have them try the mute button on the PC keyboard. Yep, they're just going to give us a call. They're joining us over the phone. No problem. Oh, we'll dial for dollars. Do we want to take a recess while they call in? I don't know if that's easier or easy to do or not, or should we just give it a few more minutes?
Let's give it another minute and see if they can dial in or figure out the mute button. No, we cannot.
Oh, here comes the call. Oh, Katie, maybe you need to unmute. There you go.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear
Yes.
us now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. No,
It's okay.
don't worry about it. We're here.
Okay, you guys did very well on our names. I know we have very long names. You can call me Bala, and this is my wife Jill.
Hi.
So I would like
Hi.
to
Hi.
I would like to do a presentation, if you will. I know this is a little bit elaborate, but I just want to give a background of why we are doing it and why the proposed option we have, if that's okay with you all.
Certainly.
Okay. Okay. So my wife Jo and I, we've been residing at 4 Bryden Road since November 2002. We live with our 2 teenage kids and my parents, 83-year-old father who's a heart patient, and my 76-year-old mother who's a severe COPD patient with oxygen support. I would like to first share the background of our neighborhood and our house. So we live in a raised colonial field, 2639 square feet, with 4 beds, 4 bath, and has only 1-car garage. Our neighborhood, if you drive around our neighborhood, you'll see 2 different types of sets of houses. One which cuts across Mooltown Road, which is behind us, Bryden, Leonard, and some of the Atwood Street. You'll see most of these houses are built in 1959, which are predominantly contemporary split with 1-car garage. So built for essentially 20th century cars, right? Small cars in the 1960s. Most of these lots are also 0.35 acres, right, with few exceptions. And our side of the Bryden Road is very unique in terms of the lot size because our frontage is only 104 feet compared to others which are 116 feet and beyond. So, you'll see 1-car garage houses which are 1959, and there's other set of houses which are all colonials, built in 1998 and beyond, and in Richards Road and Killam Farm Lane, which is traditional colonial with 2-car garages. And back in 2008, when as we were growing up in terms of family, we wanted to have a larger house, and we were looking to move somewhere with a colonial 2-car garage and all that. But we love our neighborhood. While our kids went to Finn School and all the school system and all that, and we wanted to rather remodel or expand our house. So we converted our split into a raised colonial, but we didn't change the garage. We still left it as 1-car garage. Given that background, I would like to explain why we need a 2-car garage now, right? Firstly, the garage dimension is pretty small. As I mentioned, it's built in 1959 for cars made at that time, right? It's 11 feet 4 inches inside dimension, and 19 and a half feet roughly with depth, but we need like 4 feet for the stairs, so we pretty much lose that. So it's 11 by 15 for all intents and purposes. And this is, as you know, this is not enough to park any 21st century car, Camry, or whatever that might be, a small SUV, and open the car door fully to get into the car. So what we have been doing for 17 plus years, like a lot of houses in our neighborhood, is we park cars outside in the driveway, which was, so because we didn't see a lot of need to do the 2-car garage, even when we went up in 2008, because we were young enough, we were okay to get exposed to the winter or weather elements, be it snow or rain, or we were also healthy enough, especially I, to plow the snow, take the snow off the car and all that. But life has changed a lot since then. My parents, who were really old and not in best health, they moved in with us. And most importantly, I had a widowmaker heart attack 3 years ago, where I spent, 6 days in the ICU. As you all know, with heart attack, a cardiologist advised, I cannot touch snow, basically, right? I cannot shovel snow and all that. So like anybody else, we hired help. But the help said I would take the snow off the stairs, I will do around the car, but I will not touch the car. Right? We tried few of them, and we have a good one now, but they won't touch the snow, right? So what happens is every time we get exposed to the element, we move the snow, and that's done by pretty much my wife. I can't do that. In addition, with my poor parents moving in, especially my mom requires frequent hospitalization with severe COPD. and she just struggles to get to the car, to get to the driveway, right? Even on a regular day, because I was raised colonial with 7 steps. So we 7 steps, right? To get in, get out, it's just really, really struggle. So, and also we used to have 2 cars and sometimes 3 when my brother used to live with us in bits of time. All cars are parked in the driveway, and again, it was extremely hard during the winter season and other seasons. But now, not only on the health reason, but we have teenage kids from the driving age. We need 4 cars. I got rid of 1 car because of the snow problem, but now we need more cars, and we need place to park and get into the car comfortably, right? Especially for my parents. So for the above reasons, we really have a need for the 2-car garage. I know that's not a really a hardship from a special permit point of view, but I want to explain why we are doing what we are doing. The next that, 2-car garage, standard is 24 by 24, 23.9. We have enough setback. Within the setback, we can do that. Why not do that? The problem comes with the access to the car, right? As I mentioned, my mom needs, wheelchair pretty much, and that to a wider wheelchair, right? And there's no way to do it without an access where we can go through wheelchair. We have tried asking around for, can build a ramp and all that. It's just because we are 5 to 6 feet above the ground, we need at least 60 feet of ramp, we were told. So it's just not feasible to have an enclosed space with that kind of ramp, and it would look really ugly in the first place. Secondly, laundry. That's a bigger problem, right? Or one of the bigger problems. We cannot, my dad, when he does laundry, he has to come up the stairs, which is just really, really getting hard with his age. So we need to have access to the laundry right next to the living area so that it's easier for them to do that and be independent. Because of the above reasons, not only we need the garage, we also need access with the laundry to get into the garage. Now that I explained that, now where do we put it, right? And if you look at Exhibit A, page 3, right? So we tried, where can we locate it? Again, we had a lot of discussions with different architects. So first we tried where our current garage is, which is your 1-car garage. It's already non-conforming, right? We have only 12 feet 4 inches, I believe, right? To that, 12 feet 4 inches, as you see in page 3, option 1. Right? We don't want to encroach further and impact our neighbor even further on that one. So the second option is to go back, right? So okay, let's see if we can go back. There are multiple challenges there. We have existing septic tank, right? And we should be at least 10 feet off the tank, which means even if we do the mudroom differently, if we put only 24 feet deep, we will have like 20, 21 feet max, because currently our setback is 18 feet 9 inches. It will be a little bit wider than that, and it won't be enough. And for 2 cars to come and go freely, the driveway, the turning radius, and all that. So it will be extremely challenging to put it there. So the third option is to put it on the north side, right, which is the proposed option. Because we have 38 feet and 9 inches currently, where we can comfortably put a structure which is 29 feet 9 inches, where we can both accommodate the mudroom, laundry, breezeway access, and the garage, a normal size garage. So, and these are the reasons why we chose the design and the location. Like you might ask, why can't we have 1-car garage here on another car garage there? And you can imagine how that would look, like a duplex house with 2 single-car garages. And it would be detrimental to the neighborhood. And then, we tried different designs. It didn't really fit in terms of access. Like, can we do a mudroom in the rear? But that would really mean that we have to lose our bedroom. one of the bedrooms where my dad sleeps. They cannot be in the same bedroom because of the oxygen that my mother is on. So they have to be in two different rooms. So we would lose that room if we were to put it there. So considering all those options, this was the best design we could come up with, best location, right? And finally, on the entire neighborhood, right? As I said, there are two different sets of neighborhood. The old houses, they're all one single car garage. The new houses are recently built houses, 1990s and later, all are two-car garage houses. And with our, and the second part to that neighborhood impact is we believe this would only be helpful for the neighborhood, right? And we know the value has definitely increased. We bought this split for $329,000 in 2002. Now, next door neighbor bought it for $550,000, right? And I would like to think that not only our house, but also my neighbor right across the street at 5 Bryden Road had some element to contribute towards it, right? And this design that we have, it's going to keep the single family structure and it's going to be pretty looking just like what we have now. So it's not going to be detrimental like your section 174(9)(e), I believe says. It'll be actually helpful to the neighborhood. So in summary, we believe this design and the proposed location is the best possible option that not only addresses the challenge of our plot topography, personal hardship, while improving the neighborhood value. So I hope we've given enough explanation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And we have provided all the exhibits with regards to our design and plan. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Bala. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so let's have some discussion. This is where the board members can ask questions. Mike, would you like to lead off?
Yes, I went by the site. I have some problems with the application on its face. I certainly empathize with both Jill and Bala's family concerns, and those are absolutely legitimate. At the same time, the size and scope of this garage is pretty substantial. And the house itself is surrounded by houses of a different time period and style. So the house isn't similar to the other homes in the neighborhood, and that's unavoidable. But I feel that the size of this two-car garage and the mudroom is really, it's going to contain a large portion of the overall lot. So that's my opening thought on this is this is a big footprint for that lot, and it's a large addition, and I wonder if there is a way to make the addition more conforming, and having it have less of an overall size, scope, and impact. That's my opening salvo.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Paul?
Interesting. I somewhat echo some of Mike's comments there, or concerns. Yes, it is a rather large proposal. It does end up with encroachments on two sides of it, I believe. So that I feel it makes things a little different. I also feel that maybe the design could be better thought out, so it's not as big or taking up as much space. I'm not sure, like on topography there and such, if creating that extra roof line runoff is going to cause, a butter runoff. I do understand there was some opposition to this application, and I'm not too sure what my correct answer was. Katie, was there a letter of opposition for this?
Yes, there was, Paul.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what unless I missed it, what the nature of the opposition was, other than to say they were opposed.
Yep, it was a lengthy letter that was sent out, and it looks like they have their hand raised for when public comment is open.
Okay,
So I think if you allow them to speak, they will have their moment.
I guess we'll hear from that. That's my current thoughts. But I do understand in nature what is trying to be accomplished here, and
Definitely.
and empathize with that. I mean, I live on a tight, small lot, and so I can understand, when these things arise, why you're trying to accomplish what you accomplish, and sometimes I think there might be a better way to accomplish it, but be that as it may, those are my comments.
Thanks, Paul.
Can I, please let me know when I can respond, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I can respond now?
Yes, yeah, now is okay, I think, Paolo.
Okay, so, believe me, we've done 2 remodelings so far. We never went for any special permit and all that. As I mentioned, even at that time, we didn't see the need. So we didn't actually go for it. Now, we definitely have the need from a space point of view. I understand it's not a criteria, but design as well. Like we tried, different discussions with different architects, right? Not just one. And none of them had an option where I could still keep the 2 rooms where my parents live, where I could have access to laundry, where I could have access to the wheelchair access, and have a garage. So if I build a 1-car garage, it defeats the purpose. Like we both need cars. As I mentioned, the reason why we got rid of the car. So if we have 1 car inside, 1 car outside, we are on the same spot as we were before. And if we don't have that wheelchair access, it's going to be extremely difficult for my parents to even get out. So I welcome any suggestions that the board has seen, but we tried. Otherwise, we would, believe us, we would not want to be here. This is the last place we want to, impact our neighbor. We totally understand that, but we didn't have an option. We're not doing it to increase space or anything like that from a garage point of view.
Oh, understood. Thank you. Okay, Jamie.
Hi. I also drove by the property today, and I did see what you're talking about, that there are some of the older kind of mid-century homes, and then there's also new colonials popping up, and there is a juxtaposition there. That being said, it felt like you already had one of the bigger houses on the block, and I can see why the neighbor would be concerned with the addition. I'm actually kind of torn on this one. I really see the need for the family and understand it. But I know you said you had looked back in, I think, 2008 when your children were younger and at Finn, and you didn't want to move locations. I completely understand that. I just don't know if, I'm curious to hear what the other board members have to say, but I'm curious if you can't meet everything that you want, is it an option? I don't know. We have to balance what the abutters want and what makes sense for the neighborhood in terms of your needs. And I've gotten a variance myself, and I really appreciate that, the needs when you need exceptions. But it sounds like there are already some upgrades to the home, some major upgrades. And maybe if you keep pushing the property out and trying to just push it to the edges, it may not make sense for the neighborhood. But I'm absolutely willing to hear more discussion on it and see how this plays out.
No, we definitely would do whatever is required in terms of meeting the abutters concern. Like, no, we are big. My son is an avid bird watcher. Right? He's actually big budding environmentalist. We were going to plant trees, and I think, I'm not big on it. He's an expert in that compared to me. I think hemlock hedge or something like that, we would definitely be interested to put it. In fact, we have fences in the other two neighbors, so we didn't put it. It came with the property when we bought it. So we'd be happy to put a screen, a vegetation screen that's all season. And then the other issue, I think I saw the objection. The biggest objection they raised was the retaining wall. The retaining wall, I wouldn't think is required, because the only reason why it is there is because of septic, leaching field. So we're going to move that anyways. We can't keep it there because we tried that, and we can't keep it there, and we have to move it anyways in the back. So we would, that wouldn't be a problem in terms of falling off and safety concern and all that. In terms of drainage, whatever is required, I would assume the building inspector would be on top of it. Whatever is required, and to take care of that. Right now, in my 17 years that I have lived here, never been a flooding through the end of the street or anything like that. There's a driveway there, yard as well, and that portion of the yard is actually flatter compared to my the north side, which is in the peak. So we know whatever is required to address the concerns, we'd definitely be willing to do it. I wouldn't do it.
Sorry, I have a question. So is there going to be space to plant greenery in between the?
Absolutely.
Because
so
I think that was something the abutters were complaining. It did look like a tight spot when I drove by today. So I just want to be clear on that.
That will be the way the building is proposed. The closest distance to the property line is 9 feet. So if you look at the plot plan in exhibit, I believe exhibit plot plan I had, D, right? In the plot plan, they have shown proposed addition 30 by 29.75 and 9 feet to the property line. And I called the engineer, and all of you are familiar with it, so I don't have to preach to the choir. They always mark the shortest distance to the property line. So the front end of that garage is actually wider than that. It's 9 feet 6 inches. So they don't, in an engineer plan, they typically don't mark all the points. They just mark the shortest one. So there will be 9 feet and enough space. We can replace the retaining wall with our hemlock hedge, which is narrow, and still have enough screen.
Okay. That's all I have. Yes, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Doris, do you have questions?
Yeah, I can bring some input into this. I've driven by the property a few times. And I want to bring up a new point, and I appreciate, I think I'm going to go back to what Michael said. This is a large double encroachment project. So that raises issues, whether it's going to conform with the various house styles. But actually my larger concern is, and I don't think I'm going to be able to resolve it on a call, is that the abutter submitted a very lengthy concern, whether right or wrong. I'm hearing we're going to work with the abutter, but I've got a 14-page set of concerns, from drainage to topography to the retaining wall to vegetation, and it is encroaching. So that's a concern, even with the very real problem of having more of a two-family situation in a single-family home. And I really do empathize, with the needs and the health needs, but it's the abutter will be living next door, and to very highly encourage a new plan. that it downsizes it and works with the concerns in the abutter, and the abutter is going to work with the very, very real needs of this family. So it doesn't sound solved from getting some of the feedback on the abutting property.
Yeah.
To tell me that the drainage is going to get fixed by party 3 and they're going to work with the abutter, but that's not what, I don't think that's what the abutter's saying in
their letter.
Yeah, because so I mean, again, we have not had a chance to, this is the first time I'm looking at it. When we initially told them, they said they would be supportive, and obviously they didn't know what was coming, so I won't blame them.
Right.
So
Just maybe premature.
now that they
Divinely
know,
premature.
I think we totally can see the legitimate concern they have, and as you said, based on what I've heard for other approvals you've done for special permits, conditional approval wherein we address the privacy of it, we address the drainage part of it, because right now there's no drainage, and I'm not an engineer by any stretch, but I don't anticipate any drainage because it is a sloping road, so we shouldn't even be getting water into our property. It just flows into them, and there's a storm drain, as you can see in one of the pictures there. So there's a storm drain there. It just goes directly there. I've never seen flooding in my 17 plus years of living here, and it's not going to be as different than what it is. I agree there's going to be a concrete or a paved driveway, but even if I do 23.9, which is my right, it would still be there, right? It's not going to be anything different. And as I mentioned, we would do whatever is required, because the last thing we want is a family with a flooded house, right? That's not what we want. So we can address some of the concerns that the neighbor has raised, and I can go one by one and address those things. For example, they've mentioned about excessive structure. As I mentioned, we have only 104 feet to work with. That's only in this side of the Brighton Road. I wish we had a wider one, because we would not do this, obviously. And then they mentioned about obviously it's a variance. That's why we are here. Otherwise, we won't be here. It would be closer to their property, so we would.
I have a question just for you, and it has to the design, because there were 3 options on your schematic. The design actually falls to the garage falls to the back of the house. I mean, that was unusual. Am I saying that? It's not real. It's not going to go underneath. It's not going to go to the side. It's actually going to go to the back of the house.
No, the current option, the proposed, or the other options we looked at.
Yeah, but where's it? Just taught in simple terms, it's going to the.
If you're facing the house doors, I'd say it's to the left.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the front door, it would be to the left.
It's on the side.
Left. It's on the side.
Side, yeah.
We did look at the rear option, but it's just not,
I'm trying to get this, it's the architectural visualization. So we're going to have a single car garage that's not going to get sealed off with a 2-car garage to the side.
I
Is that
think
correct?
no.
No.
If
the
you go
single car
to
garage will be converted. Sorry, go ahead.
If you go to the bottom of the packet, there are some drawings you can see where it looks like. Am I understanding right that the existing garage will now be the mudroom? With
No.
Oh.
So sorry. Let me go back to my exhibit, and then I can walk you through this before after picture. I had shared in Exhibit E.
Exhibit E, yeah, that's actually a very good one.
Yeah.
If you go to Exhibit E, in the page 1, right? So the existing structure, you've seen that, like with a single car garage on the right, and the roof hanging to support the upper structure. So all we are going to do is add to the left of it, as you know,
Oh, I
some
see.
of you
Okay, I
observed,
see them on.
right? And then I don't know, there was another question someone had, but that's basically what we are on. The height, everything will be under, and it also shows an addition in the back, which is still going to be only, the height, it's within our rights because it's going to be within our setback and everything. So it's going to be well below the ceiling, the roof height now, which is 31 feet. We won't go there at all. But we are not even sure if you do that. We just wanted to be part of the design so that we can get the design done. But, I don't think budget would allow it. We just want this done.
Okay,
be
okay,
honest.
so, okay, all right, so that's just there. Okay, thank you.
Debbie, do you have something you want to?
Yeah, I
add
want to
in?
ask, yeah, I do. I want to ask some questions. I just want to say I have concerns also that I don't, pretty much they've all been said, but I think of the size and the scope, but there's a lot of things going on here, and I think there's probably some flexibility, but I want to kind of get into the details. What is the drop? It looks like there's a retaining wall to your, the abutter. Is there a drop there where there already is a retaining wall? How high is that?
No.
No, okay.
So as I mentioned, there's a drop. I think it's 3 or 4 feet. I measure it. But the purpose of that retaining wall is for the septic leaching field. If I didn't have a leaching field, I wouldn't have had a retaining wall. So I would just,
about 3 or 4
just
feet.
paper it.
Right. So it's a 3 or 4
we can just paper it to that property easily because my previous, I bought it that way. I didn't put it, but I asked my septic engineer, Cornerstone, and they said the reason why we had put the retaining walls because of the leaching field. So which won't be there anymore because we're going to have garage there.
Okay.
So we can get rid of the
Okay,
retaining
and I
wall
was looking at
and then
the,
put vegetation.
okay, thank you. I was looking at the options and in Exhibit A, and I agree on option 1, but I want to explore option 2 a little bit. So it looks like you're going to be relocating the septic to accommodate option 3, but it can't be for option 2. And I want to understand that a little bit. When I went on the maps online today on Southborough, I just want to ask you a question. Online, it appears there's a swimming pool on your property. Is there a swimming pool there? Well, I don't see it on the map. So that was Exhibit A. But when I looked down on the big map that you were just referring to, it's on page 23. I don't see it on this sketch.
So we closed the swimming pool in 2012. It was just, too much to handle.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like filled in. It's not there anymore?
Not there.
Okay, so they still have it online. Okay.
I know, it has it online.
Makes some
I don't know why
sense.
they have it. But
Okay.
we don't have the swimming pool anymore.
So it looks like you have to, if I understand correctly, it looks like you have to move the septic for option 2 and 3, but you're only willing to do it for 3. Do I have that correct?
No, for option 2, we do not have to move septic because the thing is leaching field will stay where it is, right? Because we're not going to build anything there. It's going to be in the rear, whatever we have. And then we'll have, will be 10 feet. That's the reason why I mentioned we want to have enough turning radius there because we have to be, as per the code, we have to be 10 feet from the edge of the septic tanks.
Well, that's my question. Since you're going to plan to move it for option 3, will option 2 work if you plan to move it for option 2?
Even if I move the septic tank, yes, from a septic tank point of view, yes, you're right. But the driveway would be really bad, right? But I would be, so I'll have only 12 feet. The narrowest part is 12 feet, 4 inches. And there is a retaining wall and there's a grade. My north side or south side neighbor, which is, I believe, 6 Bryden. So we would be encroaching a lot onto their property if we can. And there is also a fence. It kind of, when I go like this, and there is a fence coming like this, so I won't have enough radius to turn the car, first of all, and the width of the driveway is so small, and it turns into a two-car. I need to turn into a two-car garage, and it's just not engineeringly. You can't do. There's not enough turning radius.
Okay,
That's
I
the
mean,
reason
well, a
that's
driveway
mainly
can
that.
be moved, so you're saying you would not be able to move, so it encroaches, I heard you say, that
No, you would.
option's not really a good option then, because it encroaches also, right?
It wouldn't encroach in terms of the building, but the car in the mirror and all that. But it's okay. But it's just not wide enough. The turning radius is not wide enough for us to get in and get out of the garage. Sorry.
Okay,
So if you look at the building and to the property, we'll have like 20 to 21 feet. So the turning rate, because any typical car would be like, you need 12 to 15 inches. The radius is not enough. We have to have like a super duper car to turn it.
Did you, I mean, I don't think we're not evaluating option 2, but I can appreciate that you have investigated these, different things. And so were you looking at the same, so a question I have is the 30 by 29 and almost 30 by 30 option 3, that includes is that all garage, or does that include the mudroom?
Includes the mudroom.
On the
Okay,
garage.
so if you were to go with option 2, then it would be a smaller garage then, because you wouldn't need the
Right.
mudroom over there. So did you look at either a one bay large, so you can put in a van? I understand. I have a relative also with a wheelchair, needs a wheelchair accessible van, but has a single, only parks one vehicle, for example, in their garage. So I understand. I really can appreciate that you have this need. But I just, I feel that option 3, this is a very big garage, and it's now you've got the double encroachments. So I'm trying to be flexible for you, actually, and trying to see if, you have looked at option 2. One is, does it encroach? Could it be a little smaller because it doesn't need to be the 30 by 30? Is that a better, can you help me understand if that's maybe something that's,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really here to tell
So-
you what to do, but I think that option 3, I think is, I don't think it's consistent with the neighborhood. I think it certainly probably, has some of these, values that you want, and I can appreciate that. But what we have to do is use a set of standards. We've had people come who had no garage and they just wanted a single garage. So we have to try to fairly apply the law and understand the hardship. And for me to do that, I really want to understand if can you tell me more about option 2 and whether or not that can be made to work where it doesn't encroach.
Okay, so in the option 2, the depth, if you will, from in terms of the garage, we only consider 24 feet. If you do 30, you won't even, we can't even do anything, right? So it's only 24 feet in terms of the width. That's what we are considering there, okay? Because
so what would
we
you
were
be
thinking
24, that's the whole room that you have there in that place?
So if I can relate that, this is 24 feet is what I'm saying. So this one is 24, which would have been 30 in that when the 29.9 becomes 24, right? Because we are going to have mudroom right next to this, right? That's how we were thinking, like wheelchair access mudroom and laundry. The problem is, even with the 24 feet, because the length of this is right now 32 feet, okay? And this septic tank, where it is saying, is 10 feet into this. So I need to move, like even if I move it and then I move this all the way, there's a turning radius, right? That's the problem I have, right? I am turning, first of all, the 2-car driveway becomes a 1-car, right? If somebody is coming this way and I'm getting this way, I have a problem because was no way, but for me, I mean,
What
it'd be
is
very hard
the
to see.
width? I heard you say you have a problem with the radius, but what is the width of the, what would be the width of that option?
Around 20, even with the 24 feet width, it'll be around close to 20 feet, 20, 21 feet max. I can get more than that.
So
Because if you look at existing setup, it will give you a point of reference. It's 18.9 feet, right? And this one with 24 feet, will be like maybe a foot or two I can get. So at best, I can get 20 feet. And right there, right? That's not even a problem. So the turning radius is going to be a problem. Regardless of where I put it, the turning radius is not enough. Because of the existing structure, both the 18.9 and then there is a further structure, right? The 18.9 is only for the first part. The other part is 12 feet 4 inches. So I won't have enough. It won't be safe for us to do it because we can't see each other and all that. So that's the major problem. Septic, as you said, we can definitely move. That's not a problem. This is a major problem for us.
So it's just, I hope you can appreciate, it's just really hard to, like, for me to, without seeing it on the map, and I know that we're not focused on that one, but did I hear, like, so it would be more like a 12 by 20 or something might work, but you're looking for something larger? Or, I mean, a lot of people have very tight spots where they have to do like multiple kind of turns to maneuver out of their, lot. But, we are trying to balance, also, and we will hear from the neighbor. So I'm just really trying to see, it appears that there's other things that could fall into place. I'm just trying to, I hope you can appreciate, just trying to explore whether that could work. That's all.
No, absolutely. As I said, the challenge is regardless of where I place the garage, because of the existing structure with 18.9 feet and a fence, right? Where there's a fence there. It's not like an open area. I could have, room or anything like that. And the 2 lane would have to change to 1 lane. There's no way I can have a 2-car, going in, so that I have some room for, traffic there, right? They're going in and out. So it's just not going to work from a safety point of view because of the existing structure. I'm not even talking about the proposed structure. The existing structure is 18.9 feet and 12.4 feet, right?
I mean, you already have 1 garage. I mean, could that, for example, be a single? Could that work for you? I mean, I'm not here to tell you about your plans, but I'm just trying, I think that there could be maybe some options. I agree with you. You can't have two bays in a garage coming out to a single, like, small little driveway. But if it were more balanced and it was a smaller garage for, let's say, for, to be able to put in a handicap van or something, I'm just trying to think that might work. I know you don't think I'm giving you a hard time. I really think it just has to be balanced. Yeah.
No, you're not giving us a hard time. Believe us. As I mentioned, this is the last thing we want to do in terms of, disturbing our neighbor. So the existing single-car garage, there's no way we can park cars there. There's a reason why none of the neighbors, including the neighbor who's opposing us, is parking inside the garage, because it's not designed for 21st century, right? I can probably bring a Mini Cooper, but even that, you can't swing the door open fully on both sides. So
What
that's
size
going
is
to be
it, by the way? I do know it's a small one. Is it 12 by? Sorry.
No, 11, it's the interior dimension I measured. It's 11 feet 5 inches.
By 20?
Mr. Chair, if I could just jump in, I just want to, I think we've heard from a lot. I'd love to hear from the abutter if they're available.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna, what I wanted to say there was, and maybe I'm waiting a little too long, but I think we're going down the wrong path if we start arguing how it should be in a different location. The application is for option 3. I think the applicant is making, the case for it. I think I would agree that we should hear from the abutter as to their concerns. And then maybe, I think there may be some options you want to consider, Bala and Joe, but why don't we go ahead and, do we have the abutter here to speak, Katie?
Yes.
Thanks,
Do
Mike.
you want me to move her over as a panelist or just allow her to speak?
This is public, the public part of it, so I think she can speak. But I guess I'm going to ask in advance, because we have been at this for a while, to try not to, I mean, I think there's a lot of points have been made regarding the concerns from the board. Perhaps if the Marzos have something else to bring to the table, we can hear from them. Victoria, if you could unmute, you can speak. I think we needed to include in the package Zoom directions for muting and unmuting.
I'm trying to unmute them from here and it's not working.
Okay. Again, it's probably in your upper right-hand corner of the Zoom window where you can find the mute and unmute button. Nope, now they're gone.
Sheet back.
Now you're unmuted.
Hi there. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Perfect. I'm Victoria Marzo. This is my husband, Stephen. And yes, we live at 36 Richards Road. We directly abut Joe and Bala. And, you know, before we get into our reasons for having some concerns with this plan, we just want to say that we empathize with Joe and Bala's situation. We understand, you know, the proposed hardship that they're trying to take care of, but I do want to also say that we agree with a lot of the board's questions and sentiments so far. And we moved to 36 Richards in April of 2020, so very recently. And why we moved to this neighborhood is we were looking for a starter home. And this is exactly what this neighborhood provides. Southborough is such a great community. And unfortunately, houses are getting bigger and bigger and more expensive and more expensive. And what we love about this neighborhood, what it affords, is an opportunity for a couple starting out to buy a more modest starter home that provides exactly that, a starter home, and not, you know, a larger home for a more mature family. And, you know, our concern is here that we feel strongly that Bala and Joe's application is out of character for the neighborhood. You know, they did bring up the point that there are colonials in the neighborhood as more mature houses, but we agree with the board that looking at the footprint of the neighborhood, Bala and Joe's house is already one of the bigger ones. And those that are larger colonials with 2-car garages are on a much larger footprint, much larger acreage, and take up a smaller proportion of the overall lot. And so that's our first point that we want to say. And the second point I want to make is that we have concerns about the proximity, obviously, to our lot, the proposed structure that they're putting forth to the board today. And, you know, I want to say that Joe and Bala did bring forth an idea when we first met them probably a month and a half ago, but our understanding was it was just that, an idea. And when we were surprised by this notice that we received via mail and then requested the plan, we were just a little bit taken back by the large plan that was put forth that encroaches our lot. And, you know, we want to say that the size of it and the scope of it just is detrimental to us for reasons that we entertain. We relax in an area that directly abuts what they're proposing. And to have this encroaching so closely, we feel is a safety concern, potentially. The retaining wall, we weren't sure, which is why we posed it as a concern, whether that would pose an issue if they put a large structure on it. We weren't sure if that retaining wall was built to hold such a large structure. So that's the first concern. And the second concern is the drainage. Having a structure so close to our property line and so close to a retaining wall, which we're still really not sure what they're doing with it in this plan, but it doesn't leave much room for drainage. And Bala did bring up a point that there is a slope where obviously Bryden Road is on a slope. We're at the bottom. And there's a large portion of land that needs to take up some of that water.
The runoff.
The runoff, per the DPW. The DPW has told us this already. And to add an additional driveway, and the proximity of the
All his land right now that takes up the water coming off the road is disappearing with his, with the driveway.
Right.
Right, so it's gonna come right off the driveway, straight over the retaining wall, right into our property, which is already sloping towards the house.
Right. Okay.
Right, and then you're gonna have the additional water coming off of the roof of the garage, which most likely is gonna, you know, either shoot towards his backyard or right towards the retaining wall.
Okay. Did you have other concerns?
Yeah, the other concern we have, and this was brought up by the board, is the landscaping privacy screen that is depicted in Bala's application. It's non-existent right now in the winter and the spring months. The vegetation significantly reduces, and the vegetation is also overgrowing Bala and Joe's property. So we would anticipate a lot of that would have to get removed in order to accommodate the construction that they're proposing. And we disagree that there's room there to put any substantial foliage that we believe would substantively screen. And even if you do that, it's costly to put in any vegetation that would be of a size and scope to cover it immediately once the construction is erected. And then I just wanted to bring up a couple more points. We're a little bit concerned, you know, I think the board brought up a couple things about, you know, the size already of this structure. It's very large. And in addition to a garage, there's also a proposal in this plan to expand the back. They have a back addition already, and they want to add another floor to that. So in addition to adding a very large garage structure, they're also proposing to expand up, which would add another viewpoint from their property into our downward property, which again, the vegetation.
If I could interrupt, I'm not sure that's part of the application here.
Okay. Yep, that's fine. I think we were just trying to make the point that it's expansive. And
Yeah,
it is.
no, you're right. That's a valid point.
Okay.
Did you have one another concern?
Are there any other concerns that I didn't bring up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And we had provided just a couple, just to drive home our point about the proportion. I think our biggest point is the detriment to the neighborhood.
Okay.
We bring a couple examples forth in the pages 10 to 14 of our packet, showing the average size of houses in the neighborhood, and then also showing homes that do have 2-car garages, are larger colonials, but most of them are on larger footprints.
Right. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Each of the points. Did we have a chance to respond to each of the points so that in an organized manner?
Actually, Bala, I would just like to kind of interject here. I want to say that, you know, there's a lot of questions coming from the board. as we stated in other meetings, where we have a situation like this, when the butters have a problem, that makes us really ask some questions. And so what I kind of feel like is there's not a lot of support for what you're proposing right now. I just want to suggest that if you want to go ahead and pursue a vote on it and it gets rejected, I mean, that kind of time-wise, that sets you back. An option, and I might not be quoting this exactly correctly, but you may want to consider withdrawing without prejudice, which means you're just, withdrawn. And Katie, I'm not sure what that means in terms of the fee, but I believe that's a route to sort of save you time, because I think if it gets turned down, I think you're sort of locked into a time frame where you can't do anything. And Mike might actually have something to throw in here too, but obviously it's subject to a vote of the board, but I'd say the general tenor of the questions, and certainly from the Marzos, I think that's something you may want to, consider.
So is there an option to do a continuance so that we can, try going to the drawing board and then talk to Marzos if they are willing to, and see if there's something else we could do?
Yeah, doing a continuance is an option, because, quite honestly, I think the board heard that you're willing to do whatever it takes, but the problem is you kind of need to have that homework done before you get to this point. So nobody doubts your sincerity. Everybody understands it is a very difficult family situation. We sympathize with you. Just understand that our board is limited by, applications where your hardship is due to topography and, the size of the lot. And it's, we understand the issue, but I don't think we're supposed to take into account all the family issues, honestly. And again, I think everybody here has expressed that we understand and we sympathize, but I would say that it might be best to either withdraw without prejudice or to do a continuance.
I think I would at least try one more time, because as I said, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss this with Marzos. Now that we know what their concerns are, and regardless, if we can do it within 23/9, then we will even withdraw it, right? So if there is anything that we could do, we would definitely do it.
Okay.
And that's, so maybe if it's an option to seek continuance, I would like that. I would like to seek that option.
Yeah. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
If it is, it is possible to continue it, but they can certainly speak further with the abutters. However, if there's any significant changes to the application, then, that would not be acceptable.
Yeah, that's the one point I just wanted to bring up, David, is to echo Paul. I think in this situation, and again, I don't want to speak for any of the members, but I think it's more likely, given what I've heard from all the members about their concerns, that the petitioners, Bala and Jill, are, if they are going to withdraw and want to resubmit, that plan is then going to be changed. And as a result, I think they should, I think the better course is to withdraw without prejudice. And then if they can figure out a way possibly to get the support of the abutters to possibly, and again, the way I look at this is, you're adding a large 2-car garage and a mudroom. Like, that's a big bite at the apple right there. If that can be really scaled back, and I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's how I'm looking at it. And then if you can find something that's your abutter support that's more consistent, then that's going to be a different application. So I think the better course of action, and again, please, I'm open to anyone's ideas on the board, but I think it's better that they withdraw the application without prejudice, see if they can find something that's more conforming, that works, gets some better or less opposition. They might not ever be for it, but maybe less against it, and then submit that new plan. That I think is the better course of action, but please, I'm not the zoning guru.
Well, I think Paul brought up a very good point, and I think you're right, Mike. When you change it, this application is no longer valid. So I think you're right. The correct thing really to do here is to withdraw without prejudice. And again, obviously the board feels pretty strongly about impacting abutters. It's really, I think, in everyone's best interest that you work closely with them to try to get to an agreeable solution.
Okay,
I mean,
then
hypothetically, if this were to be approved and there are issues that need to be worked out with the abutters, I mean, in order of conditions, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin to try to incorporate that in. So that's something maybe best to be discussed with the abutters and with the next presentation, have those concerns addressed so we could accept them as part of if it's acceptable, accept them as part of what was being presented to us, not as is right now. So I probably guessing that a withdrawal without prejudice is most likely the best thing, for you folks to do, I'd say.
okay, I think we'll go by your advice. If that is the right thing to do.
It's definitely not advice, but I would just, it's certainly a situation where, hey, and listen, you're the petitioner. You live in town. You're a resident. You can just say, hey, no, I put in my application. Let's hear it. But I'd also say, pick up what we're putting down.
We want to we want to address neighbors' concerns. So that's more important for us, because we went with the assumption that it would be okay, but it was wrong assumption. So based on what I heard, maybe I should go for withdrawal without prejudice.
Without prejudice, correct. Right.
And then what would that entail? Like, how soon can I come back? Next month, or we can, is there a time limit restriction on when I can come back after I resolve it?
Katie,
Katie could speak to that. There's not yeah.
I believe if you withdraw without prejudice, then you go through the same time frame when you come back with another plan.
Exactly
after
right.
You work that out with the abutters. So you reset the clock, if you will. But I'm sure, Katie could probably straighten out some of the things I'm saying here. Oops, Katie, you did it again.
I believe that if it's a whole new application, new plans and everything, it would be on the same time frame as a regular application.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll do the withdrawal without prejudice, please.
Okay.
Yep, so Bala, I think if you just write me a quick email, just saying you're withdrawing without prejudice, those exact words, I'll just put that in the file. You'll be good to go.
Awesome.
We'll do that.
Thank you
Kate,
so
is there
much for getting outside.
No, thank you for your time, and I hope that this gets figured out.
Katie, is there anything else we're supposed to do procedurally? Or thank you for your time.
Do we need to? I'm a little confused. Do we need to vote to accept the withdrawal and then close the hearing, or?
No, we don't. Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, do we need to vote on to accept their withdrawal, and do we need to close the hearing? Because otherwise it's open.
Well, we will have to close the hearing, but if they're, so that's why I was wondering procedurally, if they're stating they want to close the hearing, I don't think we need to vote on it.
I don't think we need to vote on their withdrawal. They're the petitioner.
No.
They've requested to withdraw without prejudice. I don't think we need to accept that or make a motion on that. I think if the petitioner has made a motion to withdraw their application, and then I think we just make a motion to close the public hearing on the matter.
Okay,
But please,
and
yeah.
again, going from memory, I think in the past, we've had like, obviously, we've been in the meeting hall and an applicant is literally, scribbled out on a piece of paper, I withdraw and sign.
Right.
So I'm not too sure. Just want to make sure whatever. Now we're on a
We've got recorded testimony.
Yeah, we have recorded that Bala has said he intends to withdraw without prejudice, so.
Okay.
We're relying on that, yeah.
Yeah. Katie, is there anything else we need to do procedurally, or do we simply close the meeting?
Yep, I believe that you can just close, and yeah, it's his prerogative to withdraw. So once I have that on paper, it's pretty much official.
Okay, but we don't need to continue this then, do we?
No, we
We
don't
close.
continue it at all then.
Okay.
I mean, so I guess I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
You have a second?
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public meeting and a second. In favor by roll call, yes or no. Mike?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Doris?
Did we lose Doris again?
She's trying to find the mute button, I think.
Just give it some thought.
Purposely, you can hear me now, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Debbie?
I muted myself.
Yes.
All right, and yes, so the public meeting is closed.
Ollie, Jim, Mr. and Mrs. Marzo, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. I'm expecting the next one might have some discussion as well. I don't know if we want to do a short recess before we go on to the next one. Is there anybody who feels like they need a couple minutes?
I'd like a minute.
Okay.
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 Do I just, we don't vote for that, do we, Katie? We just say we're going to take a 2-minute recess.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
2-minute
What a
recess.
rookie I am. Okay, 2 minutes. Oh. Almost ready, Katie? I think Jamie's just getting her headset back on. We good to go?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, all right. All right, welcome back to the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals, August 26, 2020. Our next agenda item is 3 Sunrise Drive, David and Meredith Fioretti. Variance, they're seeking a variance to approve an existing pool installed within the 10-foot side setback in Residence A district. Do you have the notice, Katie?
Yep, I'm ready to read it off. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via a virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 8 p.m. with regard to the petition of David and Meredith Fioretti, 3 Sunrise Drive, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a variance to approve an existing pool installed within the 10-foot side setback in the Residence A district. Relief is requested under Section 174(82)(d)(3). A copy of the application may be requested through the principal assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-485-0717, extension 3018, or kberry@southboroughma.com. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitation on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. And I'm going to move Mr. Fioretti to a panelist.
All right, Mr. Fioretti.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us. I know it's a little late, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear us out tonight.
Go ahead. So we do have the information for your application in the packet. This is your opportunity to sort of present what it is you're trying to do, the history, what happened, why you're asking for it. So go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you again for everyone for meeting with us. We really appreciate you taking the time. We are here because we put in a pool in April of 2017. When we initially did the plans for the pool, we had it actually, I don't know if you've driven by our property, but we had it parallel to the back of the house. When we had all of those plans drawn up and we had it surveyed, we realized that we were within the free space variance. So we would have to move the pool too close to the back of our house in order to not violate the free space variance. So when we realized that, we turned the pool to be, so our house is this way, we had the pool next to the house. And we had a surveyor come out to make sure that we were not within the free space variance. All of the plans were drawn up. We went through pulling all of the permits. This was installed by McCarthy's Pool. We do have Patrick here with us today if you have any questions from his end. And then when somewhere along the lines, a marker was put and was used as a property line, and it wasn't, it was just a marker of the free space. So basically what happened is it was a complete honest mistake. Our pool was placed within the 10-foot variance. So our property line is not straight. So if you look at it, there's at a diagonal. So the front part of the pool is actually within 3 feet, within 7 feet. So 2 feet within the variance. And then the back is within almost 5 feet. So again, it was a complete honest mistake. The pool landscaping, all of that has been done since 2017. That was when the pool was put in. The patio was put in the fall of 2017, and then we had completed landscaping in 2019. All of this was brought to our attention a year ago now.
July 1st of last year. The property behind us, there's a land behind us on Breakneck that's up for sale that someone's trying to develop on. And in the course of that posting online, they showed a Google Maps. And so our neighbor had noticed on the Google map that the encroachment issue. So it was brought to our attention back on July 1. And so we resurveyed the land and agreed kind of with what the assumption was based on the Google Maps. I mean, you know, those aren't always completely accurate, right? So we did get it resurveyed, and we've been working with Lori and the building inspector's office and our neighbors since I think our first meeting was probably August, and we had a bunch of meetings after that, trying to come to an agreement in how to address this. We tried 3 or 4 different offers, which we thought were reasonable offers in which to try to get ourselves back in conformity. And unfortunately, we could not come into an agreement with the owner at One Sunrise. And so that's why we're here today. I think as my wife had mentioned, it's 2.7 feet at the corner closest to her home. And it's sloped as the property slopes inward towards us as it heads to the back of the property lines. It's a 4.7 feet at the very back corner. That's the amount of land. That's the amount of space into the free space that we are. Excuse me, into the setback that we are today.
Again, if you have driven by our property, you see that we have this space. If we had realized that this had happened, we would never have done this in the first place. We have plenty of space in the back of our house. And basically now, because we have completed the project, we have the pool in, all of the landscaping is complete. Really, we're looking for the variance, because if not, we have to basically tear out the entire pool and start a massive construction project all over again. Like my husband said, we have done our best to arrive at an agreement with our neighbor, offering a land swap, offering monetary compensation. Obviously, we will do what we need to get back onto our property line. So we're really just here so that we can get the approval on the variance, and then make sure that we're within compliance of property lines and within compliance.
Mr. Williams, I think you're muted.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you for that. Jeez. This is my first time as chair, so I'm fumbling. So I do want to just get a little bit of clarification from you, if you could, before we get into all the debate. So, I mean, this really is about the variance for the encroachment of the pool.
Correct. Yes.
So there are other issues here, and I think maybe just for the board's reference, like for instance, you know, there's the fence, there's shrubbery, and then there's like you have a raised deck there.
Yep.
Maybe could you just address the plans for that?
Yeah, sure. We've already spoken with the appropriate people. We've already agreed with our neighbor that she is in fact correct, and that once we understand the ruling on this, we will get everything back onto our line. Because what happened was, once the pool was off, we did everything based on that, right? When we put everything in, pool went in first, and then we had taken time to plan out the rest of it. And once that was off, everything was off. And so we agreed, we told her that. And as soon as we get understanding on this, because depending on how this goes, really changes the whole project, right? If we don't get the variance, then everything's got to come out. But
we're starting all over.
If we do get the variance, it's a matter of just cutting back some patio, picking up the fence, moving it, and then regrading and seeding her lawn, which she and I had a pleasant conversation over the weekend. I walked the area with her and explained to her the order in which things would get done after this meeting, and explained a little bit of our thoughts on the timing of when all that would be completed. And she didn't disagree with me on any of that piece, which was nice. So I think that that's all. I think that we've gotten past that. We tried to address that with our neighbor, and we couldn't come to agreement on any of that, unfortunately, because if we had come to agreement on that, it obviously would have nullified the need for a variance if we were able to do some sort of land swap or something like that. We couldn't, and we understand where we stand today, and we will address that as soon as we understand what happens here, because that affects the size and scope of the project, and really depends how delicate we have to be, right? If everything's got to rip out, we just come in and rip everything out and start over. If it's just a matter of we get the variance and now we're just cutting some patio, it just takes a little differently as to how we approach the project.
All All right, so I'm just gonna note here, I do want to get our board members to ask questions now. We not only have the Fiorettis here, but we also have Patrick Ellsworth from McCarthy Pool. So he's here to be able to answer questions as well. Debbie, do you want to go ahead and begin?
I just have a question. So we're just talking about the encroachment, the 5 feet and the 7.5 feet, but that was the pool only. And so with the patio, exactly how close then is the encroachment onto the abutter?
Well, from my understanding, the patio could go to the property line.
Okay.
And so that the patio is, so that's where we're only talking today about the 2.7 feet that we need to keep the pool in compliance, and the 4 on one corner and the 4.7 on the other. Ultimately, the patio will end up going right to the property line, but probably not right to the property line. We'll bring it in a bit because we want to have room for the fence and some other things, but it'll be close. It will be relatively close to the property line.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's sort of an unfortunate situation. I can only think of one other time, and I feel badly for all parties, to be honest. I can only think of one other time since I've been on the board where we had someone come forward who had already built, I think it was a space over a garage, and then it wasn't in compliance or something. And, but it was a different situation because there were no abutter complaints or something like that. So I really just want to hear from the others on the board, and I don't really have any more questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Paul, you're on mute as well.
You're on mute.
There you go, Paul.
This is kind of interesting. I've never quite seen something like this before, and been on the board for a little bit, so this is kind of unique.
I'm glad we can make it interesting at least.
Thanks. So the fully, in case I'm just missing something, obviously it's existing. So the relief is for a pre-existing, for whatever circumstances that it does exist, it's relief for something that already exists.
Yes, sir.
And that's something we need to grant, I guess. And then going forward, based on that relief, then you're gonna, I guess, figure out and decide how to solve the other half of the problem where there's, I guess, perhaps patio and certainly fencing that goes into the neighbor's property.
Yes, so we've already had, so we had the patio done by Dex by Terra. We've worked with him, we've worked with Patrick as well. And basically, when you're looking at that picture, anything that is on her property line would be removed. So we would reduce the size of the raised patio that you see, all of the landscaping that you see on that side, all of the shrubbery would be removed. The fence would then be brought basically to where you see where the pool around the patio, the fence would come right up to that, which is our property line. And our fence would be right on the property line.
I think in one of the pictures you can see, I forget which picture number is, 49, maybe you can see the property stakes that we had put in. I had them when they staked the property, also put it inside the fence so we can see and kind of where the property stakes are is where we put the fence essentially.
That was my question for now, just to make sure I'm understanding this 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Doris? You're muted.
You know these board members, I can't.
I'm unmuted now. So yes, it's certainly a problem. I can't actually say I've never seen something like this before. I guess my broader problem is that, you do it once, you do it twice. So I'm going to probably want to hear, since it hasn't been resolved with the abutter, I'm going to want to hear what they have to say. It certainly seems from the outside reasonable, to want to ask. It's already in, but we have a professional contractor who put it in. So I think I just need to hear from the abutter. I have all the empathy um, about how this occurred and all the investment in it, but at the end of the day, it's very close to the property line, and the abutters and their opinions matter, and you built it. So I've got to wrangle with it. You know, I've got to think about that. It
Understood.
did.
I did speak to her over the weekend. I did speak to her over the weekend when she came over. She wanted to take some pictures, so she came over, and I'm sure you'll hear from her tonight as well. One thing she did mention, she said, you know what, you guys aren't very loud. So I said, I wanted to say, if you're not going to show up, because I was going to ask her if she's not going to show up, would she write me a letter, try to make this all easier for everyone, right? And she said at the time she wasn't sure, but she did mention, which I also appreciate. She said, look, you guys aren't very loud. And I know that that's probably why the 10-foot ordinance for the pool is in place, assuming you want to be a little bit further from a property.
Yeah, the root of it. Pools can be the root of people do not like them, or they do like them.
Right.
But you know, we're just trying to solve.
Okay,
It's too close to the 10-foot, and it grows as it goes abuts the back of the property. So
okay,
okay, thank you.
Mike?
Patrick, my first question's for you. So if we have a design plan for where a pool's supposed to go, and then it goes in someplace different, I need to get my head wrapped around that one.
Yep, no, and certainly McCarthy Pools and myself take full responsibility for obviously everybody being here today. Certainly apologize to the board and to the Fiorettis and to their neighbor for certainly this embarrassing moment for a pool contractor, certainly that's been in business for 60 years. So from originally the plan was to have the pool running parallel to the back of the house, and it was going to be very close to the open space. We certainly agreed that needed to be delineated, and in hindsight, the whole side and rear, everything should have been delineated, and certainly that wasn't the case. The pool subsequent, you know, this was mapped out and permitted, I believe, over the winter, and plan had changed for the pool to run perpendicular to the house. And, you know, unfortunately, it just went too close to, obviously, to the side lot line. So certainly I accept 100% full responsibility as a contractor that has experience to avoid these things. And certainly in my 30 years, this has not happened. And certainly in the company's 60 years, I'm unaware of it happening either.
All right, well, thank you for that. And listen, I'm going to be brutally blunt on things like this, because what I have, and I genuinely believe what everyone's telling me is true, but what I see here is what I'm afraid is, oh, this is where it needs to go, but we really want it to go here. And it just ends up going to where it lands, and oops. And I just have a fundamental problem with that. And it's just a situation where this smacks to me of, it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. And I just have a knee-jerk reaction to that. And I believe what Patrick just said, I believe the petitioners, but there's something, and I'd love to hear from the abutter, why can't an easement be allowed, or a land acquisition? Why are they fighting us on the buyer, you know, the petitioners on this? And so there's this piece of the puzzle. And let me tell you, and again, this is more a Mike Robbins issue that I see. Here's the design plan. Here's the property lines. Build it to the design plan. But what I see regularly is, oops, it somehow got moved. I don't know if that's what you wanted or not, but this is why we have design plans. This is why they get signed off on. This is why they get approved. This is why this isn't common, because when it does happen, it's because the petitioner tells the installer, you know what, we don't want it here. Move it over here and we'll pay you, and we'll just, no one's going to be the wiser. And I believe everything that you're saying to me, but this is my initial reaction. Like, I just have a problem. We have a design plan, says to go here, and oh, it didn't go there. Again, I'm not saying that's the case here, but I just have a fundamental problem with this scenario in general. And
Mr. Robbins,
I don't know what's going on with the abutter as to why that a more reasonable compromise can't be worked out without having to come to us, but that's a different story too.
I completely appreciate where you're coming from. And like I said, if you can see the way our property runs, the way that we originally wanted it actually made so much more sense. And it really came from us wanting to follow the rules and not encroach on the open space. So we adjusted to make sure that we were within compliance of that initial rule.
So when it was getting built, didn't you see like, this doesn't look right, this doesn't fit, like that, where did that come into play?
In fact, we had this marked out, I think as Patrick mentioned. We had tried to get it in November before winter, and we didn't get it in, so it ended up being March, April. And we had it sprayed on the ground for months, and we had it laid out. We weren't trying to hide anything. We weren't trying to sneak it by anyone. We weren't trying to do anything like that. I think at one point, Michelle and I even were standing and we're spray painting. She said, "Oh, it was a spray paint where the pool's going." I said, "Yeah," but we even talked about it, like just we would have to be outside at the same time, type of thing. And that was it. It wasn't anything. We were certainly.
And I believe
pull
you,
anything
but-
on anyone.
And,
No,
and
I
I'm not-
understand. I'm sure I understand where you're coming from because people are, how people can try to, that's definitely a lot of people's model. Just do what you want to do and ask for forgiveness later. I can certainly see where you guys probably run into that a lot. I can honestly say it wasn't in this case. But that's all I can just speak for what.
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, I guess that's all I can say. Is it really
Another
was
thing,
not our intention.
the plan that you're looking at, the existing as-built, was not available to us when we applied for the permit. It was a plan that the town had on file that was used to apply, and certainly in hindsight, that plan wasn't accurate. So it was, once again, my responsibility as a contractor that, the Fiorettis, this is the first time they've done it. This is the, thousandth time I've done it. So it's certainly has, it's all on me or McCarthy Pools.
Is that Mike?
And thank you guys both for that. Like, I thank Patrick for being here and saying that. I really just want to continue to hear what the other members have to say. I'm going to get off my soapbox on this particular issue, and I want to hear what the other members have to say. And I just want to hear about from abutters and anyone else. Thank you.
All right, I think Jamie's the only one we haven't heard from yet.
Yep. Hi. I appreciate everything Mike said, because in general, we don't want to live by that rule. Let's ask for forgiveness later after we intentionally made a mistake. I get the feeling that a mistake was not intentional here. And maybe I'm using my legal background here, but it seems like it would be an undue burden on the Fiorettis to have to pull everything up when they are able to fix the fencing and the patio so that it is on their property. I don't think, it sounds like no one wants to be in this situation, but I think if they can work with their neighbors, if we give them this variance, which is a remedy for them, and I think that's why we're here. It's not the ideal way to do things, to build it first and ask for forgiveness later. But I don't think it was done on purpose. They also did have to go to the town and get permits and get signed off for. And I think that's where we can come in and provide some relief for them. And especially if they can come to an agreement with the abutter to say, okay, we were wrong. We're going to move the fence. We're going to put the patio on only on our property. We're going to reseed your lawn. I just think this situation is not like a run of the mill. Oh, they just ignored the rules and they're just trying to get away with it. That's, and I don't know the Fiorettis. That's just from what I'm hearing. And it also sounds like, from Patrick, it sounds like, I know your company, I drive by it all the time. This is not typical as well. So I just feel like it would be an undue burden to ask them to rip up the pool. That's my feeling on it. That being said, I absolutely want to hear from the abutter as well.
Okay, yeah, agreed. I don't know that I have a lot to add to what's been raised already. I think there's a lot of really good points. I agree, like moving the pool seems extreme. I did drive by the property today. Honestly, the first thing that struck me was you got a massive amount of room to the other
Yes,
side.
I thought
So-
the same thing.
Which you made that
Yeah.
point. So it was interesting, but the property stakes made it pretty clear, what was going on. I think I would say we're probably all in agreement that what we'd like to see is that there is an agreement that you come to with your neighbor next door, clearly from address 1. So I think it probably makes sense now to bring in Katie. Do we have an abutter to speak? And well, go ahead. I think I want to precondition a little bit when they get on.
I'm going to move Michelle over as a panelist.
Michelle, you're on mute if you don't know.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you see me?
Mhm.
Hi. Hi, thank you for allowing me to attend the meeting. So I just want to set some background over this issue that has caused actually a lot of stress for me. Loss of sleep, loss of time from work, lots of meetings with the town. That was all detailed in the letter from my lawyer to the Ferrettis recently. So I just want to let you know that this has been an ongoing stressor for me and my family and anybody who has to listen to me, basically. So I want to set the record straight about a couple of things, because some of the things the Ferrettis did say, and I'm looking right at you because I did have a conversation with you, actually were incorrect tonight. So the first thing, and I know I want to be brief because it's late at night and I'm a late night person, but you guys might not be. So I want to get what I want to say concisely, quickly, so that we can all get off the phone and make an agreement. So on the application that the Fioretti submitted, there's a question 15. It states, are there any outstanding enforcement actions?
I'm gonna have to interrupt. I mean, I think that's not relevant. And so,
well, the only reason it's relevant is because they're encroaching on my property 600.
well, they are, but I mean,
feet.
I don't know if you're going down to the path that they didn't fill it out accurately, but that was the application. It is accurate because that's relative to McCarthy doing so. I'm just saying the Fioretti did not fill out the application.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So what happened basically from the get-go is that when they submitted the application and they decided to change, I didn't see in the file to the town any application for a request to change the pool. There was no meeting with you and I ever talking about spray paint. You came to me the day before the pool, pretty much the week or the day before the pool. I never got any public notice that there was going to be a pool. You had asked me to cut down a tree in my backyard. I wasn't even sure if it was on the open space or not. And because the tree was, kind of unsightly and it was like a, pine cone tree and it was kind of over my garden, I said, okay. You brought these huge heavy machinery in, you cut down some trees. So I didn't really know that there was going to be a pool put in. When the pool was being built, there was this huge, large cement patio, concrete pool filled. So the next, they used the pool that summer. The next fall, when I was cutting my grass, I noticed that I couldn't get the tractor through, the wall, the fence, and where it usually goes, through this little the bush I have. So it was scraping the side of their fence, and I'm like, this is not right. So I went to Zillow and I looked over, and I was like, wow, they are encroaching on my property a huge amount. There was no permitted application to change that. I never saw a permit application to approve the second one. They never put any stakes in. Even when they did a staking recently, before this last one, they didn't leave the stakes in. So I don't know why they didn't leave the stakes in if they're going to do, a survey And so I don't see why McCarthy would have known where the property lines were. And he didn't follow the approved plan because there was no plan on paper to follow. It was sort of just put it where you want. So I kind of agree with Mike. That's what they did, put it in and ask for forgiveness. I mean, that's sort of what happened, unfortunately. For me, you know, for them, you know, it's not, I mean, you know, they have small kids. I mean, I have, you know, teenagers that, you know, have different needs. You know, my kids don't want to go in a pool. His kids are probably excited to go in a pool. They're, you know, make use of their pool, but it's, they're encroaching on my property, 688 square feet. This large appurtenance, it's a raised stone concrete patio, is right against, you know, it's within the 10-foot setback for, you know, the allowed. And I told him that I'm very concerned that you have this huge patio on the property because you can, you know, fall over it. So the letter, so I had a lawyer draft up a letter of my concerns because I really wanted to make sure that they were known because I didn't really trust that he was going to follow the survey because he hasn't followed the survey. And one additional thing, when he knew the survey was going to come on July 1st, I sent the letter of enforcement. The complaint form is dated 5/21/19. So we knew about this encroachment for a long time. He was asked to provide an as-built by the town as a result of my request for enforcement for the complaint form on 5/21/19. That's when I walked it over to the town. So let's see, what else do I want to say? But anyway, I want to work with him to get my property in his property in compliance. So I offered him a land swap as he asked for at the meeting. He asked for a land swap. So I had a realtor come out and I said, you know, what is this land worth? And what is the issue with him having this pool so close to my property? She said that it devalues my property. Having the pool edge so close actually devalues the property. And it also is a safety concern. So if he moves the fence like right to the line, the fence is like this big, I don't know if you can see. If he moves it right to the line, he actually right now has to rip up part of his walkway around his patio. And then he said he's going to take like a rope and put it from one side because it's not straight to the other. So the entire bump out of the patio has to go. The one that I think is a liability. And I think Julianne or Lori told him to put chairs on there. When I asked, you know, like, are you using this patio? Because it's a very concern to me that the patio is so close and that he's using it. And they had a big party the other day with, you know, loud music, a birthday party. And I clearly saw people using the patio. They were running all around it. And I was very concerned that someone was going to fall on my property and, you know, into the pool or, you know, just, there was a lot of people there. And that was, you know, like a month ago or so. So let's see, what else do I want to say? So a couple things, like they've been using the pool without a certificate of occupancy. They didn't follow the approved permit. You know, they didn't follow the setbacks. I didn't see that McCarthy had any intention of like, you know, as in a butter. I didn't get a letter. I didn't get, you know, notification. There was no staking of the land. It just appeared, you know, almost that week. Oh, by the way,
if I could though, I mean, yeah. if they thought they were installing it where they were supposed to, and if they're doing it within a legal spot, I don't think there's any obligation to notify you. That might be normal to stake it. Yeah, if I could, I mean, we certainly want to hear your concerns, but we've got to kind of keep it to
okay. So
how the pool itself, because our understanding is the fence would be removed, and I think the deck that you're talking about, the raised concrete,
the raised concrete
right,
has to be removed right into the spot, but then they have to make
it has to be removed. It has to be removed. It has to be removed within her property. It can stay right up on our property line, and this is where we've had a difference of opinion on this.
Okay, all right. So the agreement is that
you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, so your understanding of it then is that you're going to remove the deck that is on her property, but not anything that's on your property. Okay.
Correct.
Unless there's another regulation that we want to be within compliance and make sure that everything that is on our property is in compliance.
Okay.
So that maybe we are wrong, and if we're wrong, please tell us. That I believe that we can have the decking right up to the edge of our property. At least that's what was explained to us back when we were laying out everything back in the day. If that is incorrect, we'll definitely remove it and get ourselves into whatever compliance there is for within our property.
Today, we just want to get an understanding of if we have to rip up the entire pool or if we can work within, if we are able to get the variance and then bring everything, obviously working with the town and the building inspector to make sure that everything that is on our property, if we are to get the variance, is correct.
Katie, I just want to ask you quickly, we're really focused on the pool in this case, right? I mean, it's kind of going a little bit out of bounds, not completely, but on the deck, because I guess for whatever it's worth, clearly the pool and the deck and the shrubbery is easily movable. The pool is not. I know the guidance is we want to try to stick with the pool. I'm trying hard to thread the needle here, and it's honestly, I'm struggling a bit, but.
Right, so after talking with Lori, yeah, your case in front of you is what you need to deliberate on. Not the deck, not the fence, all of that is being solved outside of here. It's all about the setback with the pool. And as far as the deck, I can't answer those questions, but if you do, say you do approve the variance, those plans will be submitted to the building department, which will be reviewed by the building commissioner, and she will approve them or tell them what they need to do from there. So your four corners are the setback with the pool.
Right. But we also, I mean, we do typically have we frequently will put in conditions, right? That as long as they're agreeable to the abutter and the applicant. So I agree. It is about the pool, but I think in this case, Ms. Myers has an issue with the other parts that are related to the pool.
Sure.
Right.
Yep. And you can decide on that, but I think the building code states that the deck can go to the property line, as can the fence.
Okay.
But you guys can do whatever conditions you want.
Right. Okay, Ms. Myers.
So right now the pool edge, right? The pool was built, the patio is an appurtenance, and that's in the bylaws, that's an appurtenance. It was built for the enjoyment of the deck. So I just want to make it known that if they put the fence, rip part of their, they remove part of the walkway around there, and then they put it right on there, it's just going to be super close. It'll be like right on the edge. I'm just looking at a picture right now. Right on the edge. I mean, there will be very little room to walk away. So, what is I just want to know, what's the purpose of a 10-foot variance, like for a pool, for example? Like, is the purpose, is it for safety? Is it for, I read online, it's to, allow, space between properties, things like that. I'm just wondering, in this case, they're sort of asking for forgiveness after the fact to, we put it here, however it got there in error, by this person, they didn't submit the right documents, didn't have it approved by the town, there was no oversight by the town, at different points and stuff,
I think the setback requirements are generally, about, so you're not encroaching on your neighbor's property, that you provide a little space, that we're not on top of each other. And it does vary by district. It is pretty clear that says, for accessory buildings and swimming pools, that is 10 feet. So I would just say I don't think we want to get into what it looks like on their property when you move the fence. That's irrelevant. It really is about can we get to agreement on approving a variance that they've encroached on the 10-foot setback for the pool.
Right.
And again, if I can, I'm just going to interject. And again, I understand that you guys have had discussions about acquiring that property. Listen, this is a bad situation and no one wants to be here. And I still struggle with the fact that the pool gets put in a spot and then also the permit doesn't get closed out. There's just a lot of mistakes here. But at the same time, the pool's in there. And if we can get the other items off the property, if there could be an agreement figured out between the two abutters about, hey, listen, I'll trade you this for that, I'll buy this. The alternative is to literally go back in there with excavators, rip the thing out, put the thing back. And again, like, that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I guess I just don't understand, because this is a small encroachment, and I'm not trying to minimize your concern on your property, Ms. Myers. I'm not. But in a square footage perspective, it's not a big encroachment. And, you know, I wish the parties could, and I don't know what's gone on and why it hasn't reached out, and there's probably very good reasons why it hasn't come to an agreement. But at the same time, can't horse trade here?
Yeah, I mean, there could be conditions, you know, to fix the encroachment of the patio and everything but the thing is right now, I have a letter from David and Meredith stating that they've begun to work with the appropriate individuals in town hall to get it back into compliance, and any materials that were mistakenly placed on one side of drive will be removed and the property will be restored to the same condition prior to this installation of the material. We apologize. And that we're using the pool because, you know, it's not a liability because it's in our plot lines and then the town said so. But it doesn't have any, you know, details of what they're going to do, how they're going to do regardless. I know they wanted to wait, like David said, when I went over the day of the, you know, the staking, just to make sure that we all know where the stakes are. And I took pictures while he was present and such. And I want to make it known, like, well, these should be conditioned upon, you know, the variance. If a variance is granted, I want to make sure there's some oversight and that they're doing these things because, you know, their history is not, you know, not following, you know, not following an approved plan, putting trees in when they know that the variant, that this.
So, yeah, if I could, I think what I'm hearing from you is you would be willing to say, okay, we can, you know, I'm okay with a variance regarding where the pool is, but there are certain conditions you want to see met. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the ability as a board to say, we're going to approve the variance, but these are the conditions that have to be met. And those are in the public record now. I mean, that the building inspector will follow through and have oversight to say, did you meet the conditions? Our job as a board in that situation is to clearly document, okay, you want, you know, vegetation screen is a popular one. Like in your case, you might say, the fence is moved back to be, you know, at least on the property line. That the deck that's on my property is removed. Those are conditions that we can write into the decision. I would say the board would probably like to see that you and the applicant would agree on those, and then we could address the matter by saying we approve it with these conditions. So I guess my question to you is, are there conditions that you would find acceptable and the Fiorettis would find acceptable?
Well, I mean, I really would like the fence to be on their property because I'd love for them to maintain both sides of their fence because I find it very difficult, you know, to mow the grass and to do that side of the fence. I mean, ultimately, you know, the fence, you know, is hard to maintain against a fence, and you know, you have to be able to mow it. And you know, my daughter and I, we do the mowing ourselves. We take care of our property itself. You know, I would like them to take care of their own property. You know, so one of the rules on public notice at the town is that you should have your fence within, you know, a certain amount of time away on your property. But in this case, if they move the fence, they won't be able to walk around their pool at all because of,
but again, the concerns with what happens on their side of the fence if it's on their property is immaterial. What I'm looking for is, let's just, I hear what you're saying on the fence. You know, if they move it to the property line, is there anything they could do to landscape, you know, a 1 foot border on the other side of the fence that you don't have to mow, or is there some way to negotiate that?
Well, another thing that I was concerned about is that they built it up so that it's all sloping down. And I'm concerned when, you know, just like David said this weekend, he wanted to wait to reseed, not this season or whatever, but another season, because he thinks it's gonna be like a pile of mud. You know, so it has to be, the whole thing has to be regraded because they graded it, you know, they put the pool up and they graded it, so it got.
I'm sorry, where's the grading that you got
They
concerns?
graded, if you look at the pictures, they graded the land so that it slopes down. So they raised everything up and it's graded. So everything kind of goes down when they.
From the pool towards your property? Is that what you're
Right now
saying?
there's trees, there's 7 trees, there's 8 trees there now, or like more 7 arborvitae trees that they put. They put those in. So, I mean, it would look really stupid if they, you know, moved the fence and left those trees. They're just sort of sitting like in the middle. They look kind of, you know, ridiculous.
All of that will be removed, Michelle. Anything that's on your property line will be removed. So all of the shrubbery, and we will bring your lawn back to what it was prior to installment.
And just for clarification, the reason I said you don't want me to seed now is it's the middle of August. If I seed now, it will grow. My recommendation, I will happily do it.
Happy to do it.
I was suggesting you might want to wait and have me seed in March or somewhere around there when you're more likely to get a lawn to grow. That was simply what I said.
Right. So I'm just concerned about, you know, the runoff and the drainage. You know, it's because they built the patio up, everything's built up so that it's going to, you know, run down no matter what.
But again, I mean, I have a hard time with that being material to the argument here. I mean, it's still about the conditions
like
to grant the variance. So, I mean, if they had the pool exactly where it was supposed to do and it sloped down towards your property, we don't have a lot of say over that.
So
the other thing is the saleability.
To do her landscaping, understanding that it's her and her daughter and knowing what a hardship that is. So we did offer to have our landscaper, because the properties obviously are connected, to just have when our landscaper comes, just to do all of her property as well. So that was part of what we tried to do when we were trying to reach an agreement.
Okay.
Right. You had mentioned.
Hi.
Go ahead, Dorothy.
Tell me this, and just to separate it. So, you know, I'm trying to listen, and I can really sense your stress over this, but there is some framework. Are you entirely, just kind of get to the root of this for me, are you entirely opposed to giving this variance if we could come to conditions? Say we had all the conditions and all the problems and all the runoff, and those things can be solved in writing. Are you just simply opposed to the variance? Or can you give me some sense of that? You just, and I really do. I'm with Mike a bit on this, is I've got a problem with this being put in with all these stumbling mistakes on both sides, even though it sounds honest, having so much background. And when you change things, you know, change always seems to create mistakes. But Michelle, can you help me a bit here? Are you willing to give a variance, you know, knowing all these bumbling mistakes that have happened? And I really want to call like Mike did. They're a bit bumbling for me as a professional. But
So, you know, at first, you know, I offered for them to, hey, during the meeting, they thought I was kidding, but I'm like, you can buy my property if you want to have my property and their property, you know, you can buy it for, you know, this amount. I wasn't joking. And then, you know, so it just feels so close. It feels super close, and it feels like claustrophobic. I was telling David the other day, like, you know, this fence, you know, I go outside my house, you know, it's just claustrophobic. There's the 700 square feet, and then there's a pool.
I've seen the fence. Yeah, it's there. But the fence is there, the pool is there. Yeah.
No matter what, right, that has to be moved, right? The patio has to be ripped up because they can't take my land.
Can you live? Can you live with it? You know, with the property devaluation and all the, can you live with?
Yeah. So that's
yeah,
another.
I mean, I kind of get to the root of.
Yeah, I mean, I
want to agree to give a variance. We're just focusing on the pool. I think the fence and the shrubbery and the runoff and
can get
definitely accommodated for.
Right. So one of the things you brought up was one of the things that I had in my notes is the resaleability, and I mentioned this in the letter. You know, having them that close, what is the next person say like in 3 years if I were to move, 4 years or whatever, or maybe I'll never move. But what's the resaleability? How does someone, you know, any of the board perceive having you know, this thing. So I look out my window, my daughter's window, you can just see right into the pool, you know, that's fine. It's, you know, no matter what, we're still gonna see that. There's no butter. I don't think the butter for, there's any other butters like behind us, the person that's they're gonna build the house. I don't think they're on here, so I don't know how they feel, but you know, it feels claustrophobic, and you know, I really.
Michelle, I'm not gonna make up your mind for you, Michelle.
Right. What are there conditions that you would want to have in here if we are to approve the variance? I mean, we know we hear what you're saying, but again, I'm going to go back to, if they put it entirely within where they were supposed to, you would still see the pool from your house. That we can't make that argument.
Right.
They built on your property, and so we're looking for a way to keep the pool where it is and just have conditions that I think the Fiorettis would be willing to meet to, you know, sort of relieve the problem that you're having.
I mean, if they were able to put, you know, on their side, move the fence as far as they can, having a minimal, you know, walkway, and maybe put their trees there so that it offers, you know, some noise dampening and improves the resaleability so that you can't see, you know, you can't see the pool, you can't hear them as much, you know, it feels like that they're in their own side of their property. I mean, my house from my end goes 38.5 feet. Their house from their end is only 25.5 feet. Like literally that pool never should have been built there ever. Like,
so, but if I could really sort of close in on the vegetation, because as I said, vegetation screening is fairly common. If they move the pool right to their property line, I think as they've indicated, what exactly would you like to see in terms of vegetation that perhaps the Fiorettis would agree to?
So, I mean, I'm not an expert. I do have someone who's a landscape architect that could, you know, evaluate the, you know, the resaleability of the house, because it's really just about, you know, resale, about like Dora said, this actually devalues the property. The fact that the town is on record and we're at this meeting, and a future prospective buyer is going to come in and they're going to say, oh, what did she do? She's, you know, she's allowing a variance, and it's devaluing your property no matter what, because it's, you know, the fact, and you know, that's what I'm concerned about.
Sorry, can I say something?
Sure.
As far as I understand, the Fiorettis can have a fence on their property line regardless if there's a pool or not. Correct? Is that?
I believe that's true.
Yeah, I believe that's
so. So to me, it's not relative. Almost. I mean, yes, they have to move the fence onto their property. They absolutely cannot encroach. That's a no-brainer. But to say it's claustrophobic to have a fence there is really not related to the pool. That's something.
No, I'm talking about right now, like right now. Right now, it's, you know.
Oh, I agree. Well, yeah, and you're saying they need to move it to their property line, which I think we all agree, and the Fiorettis agree also. But again, we're here to give a variance for the pool. So to me, as long as they move the fence on their property, it's almost irrelevant to the pool issue, because even if they had no pool back there, they could build a fence there.
Right.
Also, I did also drive by the property today, and I felt like it was a huge amount of space. That being said, they absolutely cannot encroach on your property. They realize that's incorrect. They're saying they're going to fix it. I think it's just hard for me to hear, because I'm thinking about a property owner myself, is if I want to put a fence around my property and that's allowed, then it's irrelevant if the pool's there or not. It really has nothing to do with the variance we're looking at.
So
I also, sorry, I had one more just question about the timing, because I was just curious. The pool was built in 2017. But you didn't complain, even if you were upset, you just didn't complain until you realized that.
Until I was mowing the grass, and then I've been looking on Zillow, you know, at the values, and I'm like, wow, you know, I thought it was off, but I was like, wow, this is really off. And because, you know, you trust local vendors to, and people, you trust your neighbors to follow the survey. I mean, you know, like you don't, and the town was overseeing it, so I didn't think anything of it, and, you know, call me naive, but then it's like, it's just been a horrible mess of stress and, you know.
No, I get it. I think I'm just confused because it was built in 2017 and you didn't mow your lawn. Like, was it?
No. So,
I'm confused. I just want to
I was
understand the
actually getting
timing.
I was getting someone to mow my lawn for me.
Oh, okay.
and
So
my-
then when
then
you
my-
started
and I-
doing it yourself, you
Yeah, and then and when they were just mowing the dirt over and over and over, you know, I was like, I'm just
Right.
myself, and I have a tractor, and I have, you know, 2 able-bodied children to help me. So and then I was like, well, this is, but anyway, that
makes more sense. I was just trying to understand.
Right. I mean, because it was the end of the season, they only used it for a couple months and then it went dormant, right? We don't mow the grass.
Right.
Then the next year, on my complaint form was like 5/21/19. That was the complaint form, but I was like, you know, looking into this and figuring it out for like maybe, you know, April before that.
Right.
So that's when April, they don't use the pool until that. So it was like, yeah, so there was some time that went by that, you know, I was, you know, it's caused me like just extremely amount of stress. So if we can resolve, you know.
And again, there's no accord between the two of you with respect to, we'll buy this lot, just the 600 square feet.
We've offered her a land swap. We've offered to take care of all of the redrawings. We've offered her monetary compensation and then also offered to do her landscaping. So which we thought that was, again, we've also worked with real estate agents. We've worked with the town. We've really done everything to try and come to a resolution to not be here. And so we really have tried. And then Janie, to answer your question, so we put in the pool in April of 17. Everything was actually laid out in March. So in terms of the spray painting, so where it was going to be, how that was laid out happened in 2017. And then we didn't do the patio until 4 months later. And then we didn't do the landscaping until a year later. So, and then we didn't hear any 2 years later, actually. So when you're looking at that drawing, that landscaping actually wasn't completed until June of 2019.
Okay.
So, and the patio wasn't
Okay.
put in until, so
Right,
again, at
right.
any point in time, if Michelle had come to us with any concerns, we would have obviously handled it that way, but we didn't hear anything until we received a letter from the town that she was concerned.
Yeah, okay.
So I really think what we have to decide here, are we going to get to a conclusion where we have conditions that will be acceptable for Michelle and for the Fiorettis? We haven't been successful in getting that so far. I don't know if the right path here is to continue to see if we can get conditions to agree to, or to continue it, because it does kind of feel like we're really not making a lot of progress in terms of conditions. So, Michelle, you mentioned that you would like to talk to a landscaper because, you know, in order to do vegetation, I don't think we'd want to put in a general statement like vegetation screening. I mean, they could put in anything and call it that. And I think that's not the solution you're looking for. My impression is that the Fiorettis are, you know, probably be people you can work with, I would like to think. So I'm gonna just make that suggestion, and it is really for the Fiorettis to decide if that's something they want to do. It is their application. If they feel like we can continue it, and they could, you know, try to come to an agreement with you in the meantime. I don't know.
To hone those, if we were to grant the variance, and I'm not saying we will, because clearly this is a sticky wicket. There's no two ways about it.
Mhm.
But if we were, what would be the conditions that the two parties could live with if the pool were to remain? And I'm not saying it is, but
I
if
think-
that existed,
Mhm.
what would that look like?
I think based on the letter we received from Michelle back on, I think it was June 16th or so, one of the conditions met, she wanted everything removed from her property, which we're working with Lori to already get that done and get back into compliance with Lori, right? We're working on all of that. We're starting the plans to do all of that. Everything will be removed from her property, and the property will be returned to the state it was prior to, meaning grade will be back to the grade. The grade will go back to her current grade. There was a slight adjustment. Most of the adjustment actually turns out is on what is our property. There is a slight piece of her property that will need to be regraded, and we've agreed to that. Everything will put back though it was prior to 4/17, prior to April of 2017.
Yeah, I just want one more comment based on Meredith's comment that you offered me money. Meredith, you weren't at the meeting with the town, and the only thing that David said is that, oh, you know, I'll mow your grass and I'll offer you $5,000 for a broken lawnmower. So
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I just, we can't get into a back and forth like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just like, there's.
No, I'm sorry. It's,
Okay.
we either can agree to
10:20
here or
Okay.
we can continue it. And really, I mean, obviously the board here doesn't want to either say you've got to move the pool or Michelle, you have to live with it. We don't want either one.
So
I think we're really
I've
looking
I've
for-
heard two conditions going forward, Dave, just to
Correct.
interject. So I've heard two conditions, all of the property over grading redone, the lawn's is gonna be reseeded and reseeded like professionally.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Any other conditions?
Yeah.
I'm asking.
I'd like some town oversight and a plan laid out. So there has to be a plan laid out and presented. You can't just say, oh, this is my plan, and then ask for, you know, later on, did you like the plan? You know, I would.
Michelle, as go ahead.
I don't think there's not a plan involved here. It's moving all items off of your property onto theirs. There's no plan. That's a black and white statement that would need to be.
So this requires heavy machinery. There's cement deep into the ground. They bored tons of cement and everything. This requires those big trucks to come into their yard and dig and hammer and.
So imagine if we have to move the pool.
If that's the case, we're trying to put together conditions. That I think is the condition that would be said that it's fixed and restored to its proper form as it was before. So
right,
if
as
there's
I think they
there
said.
and heavy equipment involved, the equipment would have to come in, remove the cement. Whatever damage that equipment caused to get the cement out would have to be fixed to its proper state.
That's it. I agree with that, Mrs. Myers. And so
Okay,
I just. Yeah.
So
go ahead, Dave.
we have move everything off your property. Return the Miss Myers yard to the way it was before the pool was installed. You mentioned vegetation screening, but I don't know that we have a clear sort of definition for what that means, what the condition would be.
I don't know if we have the space to do that because right now we're offering to put the fence right on our property, and if she's looking for vegetation, we would have to be planting vegetation on her property.
On her property, correct. Right, agreed.
Right. Well, see, that's the issue right there, is that there is no space between the pool edge and the fence. That's my whole thing. I mean.
Yeah, again, we really can't go back to that. I'm gonna.
That's the variance. That's the variance thing. You
know?
know?
No, it's not. It's not. This is about the encroachment of the 10-foot setback of the pool. That's it.
Exactly right.
What happens on their property in terms of the relation of the pool to the fence, as long as it's not on your property, is of no concern to anyone but the Fiorettis. So if we can't really be certain about what you want to put for, if we can't agree on conditions, and as Mike very clearly pointed out, move the fence back, move everything off your property that wasn't there before, restore the landscaping to reasonably what it was before the pool was put in. If that's enough, we can agree on the variance. If it's not enough for you, then I think we simply are at a point where we have to continue the hearing to.
Yeah, or the Fiorettis can just say, let's have a vote on this and just have it be set and done. Are we moving forward or we're not? Are we doing,
So what about, not granting the entire variance, granting, because they requested, the amount of space that they encroached in that, within that 10 feet, but what if it's less than that, so that they're.
No, it's if I remember this correctly, the variance they're asking for is relief for the setback from the pool to the property line. That's it. There is
That's it.
nothing else in the
Yeah.
application. So that's it. And as Mike said, I mean, it is up to the Fiorettis to decide if they want to continue it, or if they want to go ahead and press for a vote. It's up to them. It's their decision.
Well, I appreciate everyone's support in this, this stressful situation. I would like just, to resolve this and, so both parties will, we're neighbors, we live next to each other, the kids, are out and about, and you want to have friendly relations. That's
right.
Important. You want to be neighbors, you want to be good neighbors, rely on each other if there was an emergency, that type of thing. That's the type of that you would expect to be.
Okay.
If it is brought to a vote, returning, because this is just about the variance to the pool, and if a variance was granted and we had everything returned to what it was, because that's where you were in 2017.
Yeah.
Because that can be a condition. That would be a condition. Everything has to go back exactly how it was, and inspected. Is that something? Is that something you can do tonight? Because it sounds like you can't get a conclusion to your thoughts. Because they're here for a variance for the pool.
Right.
And you really want it back the way it was. You don't own the land in their land, and they're it sounds like, and we're going to put conditions on it that they get it back the way it was. But they got the fence. They can put a fence up.
Right.
Okay? They can put a fence up. So I'm trying to help here. Then the pool stays, and the pool doesn't get ripped up, and the pool's there, and the pool, whatever the ramification, the pool's on their property once that variance is granted. It's not moving.
Right.
You have to understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Katie, we didn't have anybody else who wanted to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
I think it's possible that maybe we could move forward then.
Yeah. It does seem that way.
Okay,
Katie, we didn't have anybody else who wanted to comment publicly, did we?
So
muted.
I don't see anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else.
So if I agree to have, more oversight over the Fiorettis and what they do, so that they're, doing the right thing going forward, oversight by the committees, frequent check-ins, visits to the home, make sure that in the process that everything is done,
We don't have that authority.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, I mean, the town hasn't approved the permit. The permit's
We can't do
open.
that. The town, if we grant the variance, I think that allows the town to approve the permit. But again, the conditions are a written record. You always have that to say that the agreement is to return it to the prior condition. So we're not gonna be there visiting to check it out. That would be more of something you'd work with the building commissioner on, because it is, again, we'll state very clearly, to the best of our ability, what the conditions are, and I think we understand them.
And I think that, I'm sure you've spoken to Lori since this has happened. We've been as forthcoming as we could possibly be. And we've told her, I want to have a really good relationship with her. We have other plans for for our home. And I promised Lori that whatever happens here, we and she will get on the same page and make sure we do everything as she needs to be done.
Okay, very good.
I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a second? Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing and a second. By roll call vote, all in favor, yes. So Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And Doris?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. All right, so the public portion of the meeting is closed. We're in deliberative session now. I don't know if there's anything more we want to discuss here, or we want to go straight to a motion to approve with conditions.
I think we would, it sounds like we're gonna make a motion here, but I think we should probably discuss the conditions that would be included with the motion prior than to trying to just say a motion and figure it out as we're saying it. So appeared to me that there would be like 3 orders of conditions here. And one would be to remove anything off the abutters property. Second would be to make sure it's restored back to its original state. And I think somehow or another, the third would be to make sure there's no grading that's causing any unnecessary and undue runoff onto the abutters property. That's the 3 I can think of. I don't know if there's something else that someone got out of all this.
I just want to bring up I agree with you there, well, but I just want to bring up a different point. I mean, if this was a matter before us, I think none of us would ever have approved the location of this pool encroaching right on the property. I just wonder what kind of precedent we're setting if we agree tonight. So I'd like to know what others think about that also. I mean, is it setting a dangerous precedent, like Mike had said at the beginning, put in whatever you do and then pay later? Should this board be thinking about ramifications, or is that just let them fall where they may? Should we let the 2 parties go off and maybe try to agree and put something in writing and take a little time to talk and maybe come back to us? I mean, I think this is just, in my opinion, this is a really kind of special matter that's before the board. And I can say I am falling, I don't know that I don't know that it's fair to either party to say that the ZBA tonight is going to put conditions on when there's been so much thought and discussion. And I heard a few things tonight. I heard that there maybe want to talk to some landscapers, and maybe I thought I might even heard somebody has some legal opinion. So maybe, that's just another, place to start is, can we think about giving both parties a little bit of breathing space to come up with the ideal list that they both agree on, and that would make it a lot easier for us, I think, to approve, knowing that they both agree and had slept on it.
Maybe I missed something in this conversation, but it doesn't appear to me that an agreement is going to be made between the 2 abutters here. So it doesn't seem to me that's going to be possible. And if it was, it would have been worked out. So that's why it's in front of us now, is to say, do we want to grant a variance for what is there so everyone can move forward? And that's the way I'm looking at it.
So Debbie, if I can just
interject, what occurred is correct and right. No. Does it set a bad precedent? Well, a lot of things we either approve or disapprove, can set a bad precedent. I mean, we just approved, rather, somewhat unanimously to, for some minor encroachments, but then, agreed against, an encroachment that seemed, more egregious to us. So, in this, I mean, I think everything stands on its own, and this is truly unique. So I don't think this is gonna stop a wave of development and stuff, or people just building on the neighbor's yard and then asking for a variance, in retrospect. That's my opinion. I'm certainly not making light of the situation or how the situation occurred, but I do think a remedy is to grant the variance that's being requested of us with conditions that would hopefully satisfy the abutter.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in quickly, Debbie. There's no legal precedent for our decisions. So we don't have to, we gave this one tonight, so we have to give someone else. No, every single application is different. So we don't have a legal obligation. And I think that we always have to just remember our job is to do thoughtful consideration, to understand the bylaws, and then apply those to the best of our ability. And I remember, I think David and Paul might remember, there was that barn that they had built. It was really garage, but they were going to build like a tunnel. I didn't believe that for a second. And, you know, I didn't buy that for a second. On this one, I'm more inclined to give the variance with those 3 conditions. And, you know, I'll deal with the next, I'll deal with the next one when it comes.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I totally agree with Paul and Michael, and this is my first meeting, and I can already tell that every property is unique and has unique set of circumstances. And I feel like they came here tonight very divided, and maybe we were able to mediate this for them and come to an agreement. And I feel like that's a good thing. And maybe sending them back when they worked on this for a year is not the best plan. So I would be for the variance. And it also sounds like I said, this is my first meeting. I don't even get a vote tonight. But it does sound like this type of situation does not come up often at all from what I'm hearing from current board members.
No, I've never had a pool on somebody
So I'm
else's
not
property.
as concerned from the, I completely understand what Debbie's saying about the precedent standpoint, but it seems like it might not be something that we're seeing all the time. And with looking at each property so uniquely with the set of circumstances, I wouldn't let that heavily weigh my decision. Although I do appreciate you bringing it up because I do
Okay.
understand.
Doris, was there something you wanted to add here? Or?
I don't think if we brought that back to the neighbors to resolve it because of the tensions and the stress, we would get a very concise set of conditions and we may go backwards. With that said, on the variance, the other option, if no one's agreeing, is to rip up the pool. And McCarthy Pools was clear they'd do anything they needed to do because they did take onus and responsibility, although I still find it rather bumbling that all these mistakes took place. It just seems reasonable. I want to go back to what Deborah was saying. Deborah, I have those reservations. And I'm not always saying every case is unique because I do think there could be a possibility, just like bumbling mistakes. Someone will come back and say, do you remember the time you did it this way?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't take a lot of stake in that sometimes because it's like things are a little bit different from time to time, but I'd have to reflect back to say, why did I do it that way?
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody's opinion, to be honest. And I just want to mention, we can all remember the barn example. And maybe it was before a couple of you guys are on the committee, but it was egregious. And we felt that it was bumbling, or whatever word we want to use. But in that case, the homeowner had already moved into that space. I think that he was maybe denied an electrical permit or something, and he didn't have electricity. And but the neighbors didn't object because they liked the plan. In that particular case, it involved, believe it or not, a tunnel under the ground as opposed to something ostentatious or above like a little catwalk or something. So this, we have a different case. We've got an aggrieved abutter, and I really am troubled by that because we may not come across, maybe there's not going to be precedent, hopefully for 10 more years or 20 years, but I'm very troubled by, both neighbors may be in their homes for 20 years. And this thing will always be, I don't know, that part's not for us to solve, but I think it's egregious what's happened. And the fact that we have an abutter that is clearly in distress, I don't have a very favorable opinion for granting the variance. I think I'm not moving in that direction. So I only get one vote, but that's the way I'm feeling. So I appreciate that it may not resolve over time.
Debbie, so in dealing with different personalities and different characters, it could come back that this person is very aggrieved, and maybe there's never a time where this kind of Michelle will be happy. And so maybe the pool needs to get ripped up. I mean, that's what you're saying. Or that is, because I don't think, for at least the immediate future, she seemed very distressed that you're gonna have a happiness on either side.
Yeah, but if I can just interject, so let's just say they rip out the pool, move it back within the setback, build it up, and put it just the back where we came. Like, that's where the pool's not on the property, it's within the setback. And this is where setbacks are goal. It's not the property line. Pool's not on the property. It's the setback. And so the petitioners, if we vote against them, we need at least a 4-to-1 vote if we wanted to vote for it, to say, listen, and then they tear out the pool. So there's going to be all this excavation, all this digging, all the noise, all the everything. This is going to take however many, like at least a year for the time that they have to move the pool, re-pour everything. And then they put the pool back 10 feet back within the setback. What did we get?
And the fence is still there, because the fence can still be
That's
at the
exactly
property
it. What did we get?
Yeah.
We got 10 feet, but yep, we pounded our table. Yep, it's in compliance. You know, I had one other pool case like this, and the entire pool was on the abutter's property. It was a huge piece of land. Like, that was completely intentional. I don't know. We're 10 feet off here. I don't know why the parties couldn't have reached an agreement on 600 square feet, but that's not my business. My thing is this is where I am, and I've got to get going. So, you know, I want to make sure I'm not shutting anyone down, but at the same time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance with the 3 conditions that Paul had set forth. I don't know if there's a second for that or not, but I want to just kind of put that out there, if that's okay, David.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so let me just be clear, Mike, you're making a motion to approve the variance. Are you making that with conditions?
The 3 conditions that Paul had laid forth, that 100%.
Okay, so remove all material from the butter's property, restore to the previous condition, and address any drainage or runoff issues.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. We need to go to a roll call vote here. Yes to approve, no to deny. Debbie?
Well, I'm trying to be practical, so I'll say yes.
Okay. Michael?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Doris?
Yes.
Okay. I vote yes as well with the conditions as stated. And again, we're gonna have to be very careful about writing those out clearly. Katie?
David, if you need help with that, I'm happy to, just so you know, like, don't.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, don't go that alone.
No. Okay.
You got me, you got Jamie. Deborah's probably, you know, she's at least worth twice of me, so.
Okay.
Don't
So,
ask me.
Yeah, you notice how I left you off that ball.
I'm sensing that kind of, yeah.
okay, so we are approving the application for variance for relief setback of the pool with the 3 conditions to remove all material from the abutter's property, Ms. Myers, to restore the abutter's landscaping to the previous condition before the pool is installed, and to address any runoff issues as a result of the landscaping in that area. And that's, I think, where I have to be careful. But that's the decision of the ZBA tonight.
Yep.
Is that adequate, Katie? Again, I am a rookie.
The one thing that I would point out is Ms. Myers, if you object to that, if there's an issue, there is an appeal period if you wanted to. I just hope that going forward with this decision, even if you're completely unhappy with it, you know, just hopefully you guys can just put this behind you and start a new chapter, get those conditions met, make it, put some shine on those conditions, and just say that, you know, that was yesterday's news and this is what's going forward.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. I know it's kind of late. Appreciate taking all the time. It probably took a little longer than you expected, so we really appreciate it.
Well, it's about what I expected, honestly.
It's what we.
We called it 11 before
We called it
started the
11.
meeting.
We
So,
did.
you know,
We did.
do we have to do our minutes?
That would be nice.
We
do?
just have.
No, just because we're on triple secret probation for minutes, so that's the only.
I think if I'm right, and yeah, so this this part of the meeting obviously is just our
Yes, all the
ZBA.
parties can
Thank
go.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you
everyone.
guys are free to leave.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, you know, if we can, I'm going to suggest that we at least take a look quickly at the minutes and vote to approve them. And then just talk about the next meeting. And I know we had talked about Mike giving us an update. I think maybe we might have to vote on, no, I don't know. We don't have to vote on it, do we? But I don't know that we need to, I don't know that we need to have that happen tonight. Like the master plan update from Mike, I think we can
Yeah.
postpone that.
Yeah.
David, I think as chair, you can say you want to table it.
Okay,
Let's
thank you.
let's table it
Okay.
because I have nothing for you. I'm sorry. This is the busiest.
Well,
This
thank
is
you
the
for being so
busiest point of my
forthcoming.
year, my career. I'm working here past 1 a.m. almost every night. So
Okay. All right, and thanks for the help where I was, I guess the word I'll use, bumbling, where I didn't do.
No,
what I
you
was
did a
supposed
great
to do.
job.
Thanks for helping out.
are you kidding me?
I'll get better. So the only minutes, Katie, am I correct here? The only minutes we have in question here are Wednesday, July 22nd, where, and I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to take a look at them. We basically did the reorganization of the board where there was a tug of war between Mike and I to not be the chairman.
You were the
we-
biggest loser.
I was the biggest loser.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We approved minutes from February 12th, which is, you know, I don't think there's much there. Revised meeting schedule for 2020, which I think Katie basically talked about the things we had on the agenda. And nothing really of a lot of substance there, I don't think so. Did anybody have any objections to the minutes for July 22nd, 2020 as written and provided by Katie?
Nope.
I have no objection.
Okay. I think we need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written and presented.
Second.
Second, there we go. Okay, by roll call, all in favor of approving the minutes? Yes, is approved. Debbie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Doris,
Yes.
Paul,
Yep.
and yes for me as well. Okay, so that approves the minutes. I think I suggest that we table the update from Mike from the master planning, and that we
gave us an
discuss at our
update.
next
You
meeting.
didn't do anything, so that's good enough.
Yeah. All right. There's nothing else on the agenda, so this comes to Paul's specialty.
My specialty?
Your specialty.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second, okay. We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, reply with yes. Debbie,
Yes, adjourn.
Mike,
Yes.
Paul?
Please.
I'll take that as a yes. Doris?
Yes.
Yes, it's late.
Yeah, yes. And yes for me as well. Thank you very much for your,
Good to see you
closes
guys.
the meeting.
All right, goodbye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you
everybody.
all.
Dave, you did.
Good job, Dave.
Yeah,
By the way.
Yeah, great. Yeah, trial by fire, Dave. Five with a variance. That's a spicy one.
This was my first meeting. I really got thrown into the deep end, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did great.
Yeah.
Literally, Dave,
Awesome.
and figuratively with this whole situation. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. All right.
I think we did good work tonight, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
As good as we can do.
Very good deliberation. Really good work. I knew I could rely on everybody. So thanks very much.
I'm going to jump off, David. Just circle back to me if you want me help on writing those decisions. Again, unless anybody else wants to volunteer, I'd be happy to pass that off. But
Okay. I'll probably, I might make a stab at that with Katie
Okay.
and send them to you, and maybe you have some thoughts.
Awesome. Good night,
Okay.
guys. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy summer.
Happy summer, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye.